All right. Good morning, all. Thanks for joining. This is the day 3, and I think truly this is where I think as they say, the rubber meets the road. I mean, there's a lot of heavy lifting that we need to do here, and we have the first part of the day. We are going to start out with the um, regional breakout sessions by indications. I hope if you want to know a little bit more about it, I mean, we are going to give that information shortly. Maddie is going to walk us through the slides. But we'll come back here. Hopefully everything will be wrapped up at about 12:45. We'll take a break and we'll start the actual final run and on the prioritization starting at 1 o'clock. So on the breakout sessions and more to come, I'll turn that over to Maddie. Maddie, you want to help us with that, the slides?
Yeah, sounds good. Laura, you could just click through the first couple slides. Just a reminder to everyone, just being respectful throughout the day, and we'll go through these again when we return. If you can click a couple more. Keep going, sorry. Okay, so this morning we'll be spending, as Venkat said, until around 12:45 Eastern in regional breakout rooms. The Northeast and North Central regions have agreed to caucus together. So in just a minute, we're going to open up some breakout rooms. You'll see a notification pop up on your screen. You should be able to choose your own room. So you should just be able to click, hover over whichever region you want to join and click join. If you are having any trouble, feel free to message anyone named Fountainworks. We'll be staying in the main room and happy to help troubleshoot. The schedule that you're seeing on screen right now is making sure that each of the regions gets time to cover each of the different disciplines. So every 20 minutes, we'll be broadcasting announcements that'll come across the top of your screen, just letting you know what topics you should be moving on to. You'll see from the last 20 minutes, there's some open discussion. So this will just allow each region to be able to complete their discussion. So we do have some buffer time in there. Laura, if you go to the next slide. So you'll see this pop up in just a moment, but this is just how you join the breakout rooms. It's very simple, and if you are having any trouble, feel free to either message us or just come off mute and we'll be able to move you in. Venkat, anything else before we open those up this morning?
Quick question, Maddie, and that is for folks who are going to be joining in between or would like to, I don't know if they could make a mental note of which region they want to join and how they want to jump around. Is it possible that we can put that slide out there? Or, I mean, is that the best way to do so that they can somehow understand and start navigating themselves into different rooms?
Yeah, so I think what we can do is in the main room, we can broadcast the schedule of the different topics and the different regions. And then we can put in the chat, if you just give me one moment, I'll just put a link to the shotgun start schedule. And that way, hopefully everyone will be able to reference that if they pull it up. Does that work?
Okay. That sounds good. Great, thank you.
Well, I guess with that, Mason, if we could open up the breakout rooms, and then folks, y'all are welcome to just pop in and join whichever region you'll be in. I will.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so you should see the breakout rooms are open now. So you should be able to just click and join whichever region. Let us know if you're having any problems, but we'll be here.
So again, please, on the breakout, if you click on the breakout rooms and go to the bottom of your screen, you're welcome to join the region you want to. And if you want to understand what's happening or which region, for those who are not sure which region you want to join, Maddie is going to share how the breakout sessions are going to happen in a minute.
Venkat, this is Jana Beckerman. Could you repeat that? Because I've clicked on it a couple times and it doesn't seem to be letting me join.
Okay, Maddie, could you walk us through that, please, again?
I
Thank you.
apologize.
Oh,
No
no
problem.
problem. And it could be if you have an older version of Zoom. So if anyone is having trouble moving into a room, just let us know. If you click the bottom toolbar where there's a little notification about breakout rooms, it'll have the regions and you'll have to kind of hover over the title of it to click join. So if anyone's having trouble, feel free to just put in the chat or come off mute and let us know what region you'd like to be in. Chat's probably better, just so we're not talking over each other.
Jana, if you click on the number, so for instance, if you want to join Northeast or North Central, click over the number and you'll see join.
Were you able to do that, Jana?
Yeah, it looks like she has moved in.
Okay, good, good. So this one, along with the schedule, if you can post it, Maddie, that would be great. I don't know how you can, if you can make any modifications to this one, but that would be really helpful for people who want to see, okay, where do I jump? I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
Give me just one moment. I'm going to broadcast that out to folks right now. The broadcast messages have to be fit within a character limit. So
well, or don't worry about it. I mean, you already shared this information on the chat session, so maybe maybe that's every now and then, perhaps people who are still on the main screen, like here, without joining, you may want to alert them why they haven't joined a particular session. I mean, are they having difficulty, or are they just want to hang out here? I mean, everyone is welcome to join a breakout session with different regions, just to let you know.
Thanks, Venkat. Yeah, so we'll hang out in the main room and just give periodic reminders. We'll be displaying we'll be switching back and forth between this slide and the schedule, just for anyone who does hop in here.
Awesome. I will be kind of filtering myself into different breakout rooms. So Maddie, if you need to get a hold of me, you know how to, but
sounds good.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We are at 1 o'clock here, and we are going to start our final priority selection here on food crops and integrated solutions. And before we go further, I want to check with Jerry to see if there are any comments you'd like to make. Jerry?
Not at this point, Venkat. Just hope everyone understands that we wish we had more resources to do what we need, but unfortunately we don't. So we got lots of cutting to do, but thank you for an opportunity to share that thought.
Thank you. Maddie, any housekeeping rules before we get on to the program?
Yeah, so just real quick before we get started, I think that these housekeeping rules have helped us get along over the past 2 days. Just keep in mind our ground rules. Stay on mute if you're not talking. If you do have a question or want to add a comment, type Q in the chat and we'll make sure to call on you. We'll also just ask that you're mindful of the time. Again, we have a lot of projects to get through. We will have this as needed breakout room in case there is a discussion that needs to flow into another space. We want to, again, just make sure everyone has an opportunity to speak, being respectful of one another. You all had practice with the breakout rooms today, but if we do need it, we will have this open breakout room available in case a discussion maybe goes a bit long or there's a conversation that perhaps the whole group may not need to be involved in. Other than that, Venkat, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Maddie. Appreciate it. And again, we had a good 2 days, almost 2.5 days now. and I think this is where the rubber sort of meets the road. And I expect this afternoon to be a fairly challenging discussion, and it's not going to be fun for all, most definitely. But again, as Jerry pointed out, I mean, we have only a certain level of resources, and we have to just fit all these into these 38 A residue studies, 8 H pluses for the performance, and 8 A integrated solution projects. So that's what we are looking at right now. And of course, as and when we get more resources, hopefully by the end of the year, if that's the case, we will add more projects to this based on how we end up with today on the priorities. Just want to let you know that, Jimmy, you want to start sharing your screen so we can go ahead and share the screen. The way we will do this is we'll first go through the A residue studies. Once we are completed with that, we'll start the the performance studies. That's the program we'll go with, and then we'll go into the integrated solutions. That's the order of it. We'll see how best we can do. We hope to get everything done today. That's the plan. And if we can't, for some reason, then we will be pushed to tomorrow, just to let you know. We'll be monitoring chats, and if you have a question, I'm sure there will be a lot. Please type in Q. We'll try to respond and get to you as quickly as we can. Without any other questions, Jimmy, from your end?
I think we're in pretty good shape. Just want to explain that right now we have new priorities listed already, but those are that's the column that will be changing, and we'll be able to keep track of how many A's, H pluses, and H's we currently have.
Thanks, Jimmy. So we'll go again, as always, we'll go with the crop group. And in the first cut, we'll start with the top at 1AB, and there are 5 projects. We are at 77, just a reminder right now, we've got to get down to 38. So if you could highlight those 5 projects, Jimmy. Is anyone willing to give up any projects from here?
Hey, Bencat. This is Tony, North Central. North Central is willing to put the garden beet 109.18 to a B, Quinclorac.
Thank you, Tony.
Looks like we also have a cue from Jim. Jim, go ahead.
I'd like to ask NISO Chemical about thiophanate methyl. There's been a number of requests in the past few years, and they said the risk cup is full or close to full, but then now the rating has changed by EPA. Are they aware of all the other crops that have been posted in the past for thiophanate methyl?
Someone is, Kristen, I think Kristen is having a problem with the phones, maybe.
Yeah, Kristen, it seems like your mic might be a little bit distorted. I'm posting a dial-in number in the chat for everyone.
So my concern is that we should probably have a special conference or a special meeting, maybe perhaps via IR4 can facilitate that to discuss. There's some critical uses for thiophanate methyl where on certain crops it's an absolute needed. And in the past it was blocked because of the EPA's reevaluation. So we're thinking that this can be revisited next year in the sense of prioritizing crops, and if it's going to fill up the risk cup, and then maybe that should be thought about first before we move forward this year.
Dan, did you want to come off mute and ask your question?
Yeah, thanks, Maddie. I apologize, I wasn't able to make our regional breakout this morning. But Tony, I'm not so sure I'm ready to give up that aid just yet on the garden beet trials. We really have just a mess in garden beets, and it seems to me, looking at some of these projects that we have cautions on, et cetera, might be more appropriate. But I didn't hear the discussion this morning, so if you have any comments about that, Tony, I'd happy to listen to them. But I certainly would like to see that stay in aid.
Okay, we can do that for now.
Kristen,
This is Kristen.
Yes, go ahead, Kristen.
Okay, hi Jim, thank you for your interest. We have supported all of the, any of the requests that have come in for thiophanate methyl. The problem was that they ended up going on hold because we were in the middle of reevaluation and we couldn't ever start a project while we were in reevaluation. Now that they're nearing the end of it and they are giving their proposed decision, Nancy was able to find out that the risk cup has been opened up. So we're aware of the other requests. However, they did not receive an A priority.
Well, they received A priorities in the past, previous
Yes, they have.
years. And so that's the issue is if there's a risk cup issue, then perhaps all of these requests in the last few years, I can name the olive and the citrus, but I know Mary Hosbach had some on other crops that are, critical uses for those crops.
Yes, we would completely support them, but nobody in this past summer proposed any of the other ones that are still around. They're still on the book as active for an A priority.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. They didn't know that it changed. So if we're going to prioritize crops, how full is the risk cup? And if we
didn't know it changed either until Nancy let us know after it went through the stoplight analysis.
Well, the question
this is Nancy. I can just say that I think the risk cup it's a moving target since the proposed interim decision with the proposed mitigations will be issued this calendar year and then finalized next year. So I think we'll have a much better idea of where the risk cup is after that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other thoughts regarding group 1AB?
And did you have another comment?
Yeah, I just, based on my comments, and I think we had agreement from Tony, we were looking to change that garden beet back to an A.
Okay, we can do that. Thank you, Jimmy. Okay, there are no other comments. We will move to group 3-07, onion dry bulb, the neuron.
Northeast wants to keep this as an A, please.
Okay. All right, let's go to 4-1616. And we have 3 lettuce projects here. 2 greenhouse and there's 1 greenhouse mustard greens.
As far as the greenhouse lettuce goes, I'd like to talk offline or chat with the other person who's advocating for the other greenhouse product so that we can come up with a decision on just one of those.
Okay, let's do that now. I mean, is it possible we can have a quick chat now? on
You're
this?
also welcome to join. If it makes sense, we can use that open breakout room for that discussion.
Is the other person online?
And perhaps, Maddie, again, if you could walk us through how people want to join a particular breakout room, how can they do that?
Yeah, of course. So at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll see a toolbar, and there's one button that says Breakout Rooms. It looks like 4 boxes, and you'll see that there's one open that is just called As Needed Discussion. If you hover over the number, right now it says 0, but if you want to be part of that discussion, you can click Join. So it looks like Karen is about to join there, but if the other person she was mentioning is present, that might be a great place to have that offline discussion.
Thank you, Maddie.
What's the EPA pen mean on the right there? Is there any significance to that?
EPA pending on pyraziflumid.
Yeah, so Mike, that's a good question. That's just means we didn't weigh in because the product, the active ingredient is not registered yet.
Oh.
So it's essentially a neutral response since we don't have any information yet. Or we're not in a position to make we're not far enough along in our review to assign a color.
Thank you, Nancy.
Any other thoughts, please?
They may be in communication on the other line, but the 2 products, lettuce, the pyrophenone was the one that the greenhouse group was interested in, but I think it was the southern region that had the lettuce, the other product that's still EPA pending. I believe in our communication this morning, that may be a group 7, which I know right now for greenhouse lettuce in Canada, they have several of the projects that are 7 that are going through or gone through. That data may be transportable back to the US, but I'm not trying to muddy the water here. I haven't confirmed that.
Okay.
Hey, Mike. The southern region request for pyraziflumid was particularly for sclerotinia in greenhouse lettuce that they have been experiencing in the Southeast and Florida greenhouse producers. I don't know if was the ice cake and if there's any other if there's efficacy for any other diseases besides powdery mildew for pyrophenone, or if it's just the powdery mildew that's targeted. Can you comment?
And the question would be too, does it matter if the site and the crop is on the label? I know it doesn't seem to make much difference, at least with the letter we've seen with the EPA in the past stating that, you know, until if it's not precluded and the site and the crop are on the label, that it was usable.
I'm just gonna say that I'm gonna be the first favorable play here. I think I just want to highlight that this is a need, but we can make this a B for the southern region.
B for the southern region. Thank you.
12975. Yes, thank you.
12975.
Janine, I will work with IR4 and Canada to see if we can bring that in.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Mike, this is Rick Fletcher. The pyraziflumid is a group 7. It's Nishino America.
Hey, thank you, Rick. And do you recognize whether it's been registered in Canada or going through registration in Canada?
It is going through PMRA right now.
So those would be transportable without any residue necessary, as long as it's a B.
Yeah, there's a dual or a triple, if you would, between PMRA, EPA, and California that's hopefully coming out next spring.
Janine?
Sounds good.
And I believe the pyrophenone is just for powdery mildew.
Okay, thanks, Catherine.
it isn't. It's also for botrytis and fusarium for the pyraphenone.
So we are just gonna have one B there for pyraziflumin. That's what I'm hearing. Okay. All right. What about, let's go to 05-16 on cabbage greenhouse transplants on azoxystrobin.
Hey, Venkat, before you go into that one, I'm not certain there was discussion on the mustard green one.
Yeah.
It's basically the same use pattern. And just as a reminder to everyone, we did a pretty extensive study in 2021, basically to cover, provide EPA some data that they can then make a across the board greenhouse transplant use. I know that their proviso is no detectable residues or it all falls apart, but I'm just really wondering, it's too premature in my mind to be starting any additional residue studies when we have put a lot of resources into all transplants right now, and we're just waiting for the results.
Jerry, this is Mary, and that is the discussion we had at the North Central region. So we had moved that down to a B.
Okay.
And
thank you.
And the next one as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Tony.
All right. So we have a B on that one. We'll go with 6AB on peace. 2 projects there.
North Central can move that P fluazafop to a B.
Okay, thank you.
And this is Nancy, just for completeness, the linear end should probably be is a yellow. Thanks.
Let's go back and talk a little bit about the Linuron project. Any thoughts on that, about what just the comments made by, I know you guys had a discussion about that this morning. Any thoughts on Linuron project?
For the Linuron bean that is ongoing work right now in the field, there's been some tweaks to how that's conducted from the performance side, but there's been some really favorable data for snap bean. So this is definitely a need in our production systems in the Southeast. I want to see it as an ace for now.
You want to keep it as an A for now, Janine?
Yes, please, Venkat.
Okay, thank you.
And Venkat, I can just reiterate that it's yellow because the interim decision is complicated and there's a lot of mitigation required. The good news from that point of view is that the interim decision was issued last month. So that means the mitigation has been determined, and now we just have to go through the process of the labels being submitted and being reviewed and approved. So that'll take some time, and it can take a couple of years, but we've got a couple of years before this would be done. The residue work would be done and the submission would come in. So again, not necessarily insurmountable, but it's just going to take some time.
Thanks, Nancy. Yep. So always we can something to keep in mind is potentially, I mean, is this something we have to worst case scenario consider next year? But for now, anyway, we'll keep it as A.
It looks like we had a cue from Dan. I just want to make sure he gets a chance to talk.
Thanks, Maddie. Yeah, I just was going to reiterate that. I mean, if from what the information we just heard from EPA, I really would like to see that stay in A as well. I mean, it looked really, really good in our trials, and could have some really good utility. So I'd like to see that in A.
Okay. Moving on to tomato and pepper, the fruiting vegetable group. There are 2 greenhouse requests and 1 for the field, I think. Yep.
North Central would like to see that tomato greenhouse stay in A, but that pepper greenhouse transplant oxystrobin can be a B.
13106 can be a B. Is that right, Tony?
That's correct.
Right on target.
Any other thoughts? Any comments on this?
Fluazafop, pepper, bell, non-bell. North Central is okay with a B.
Okay. 02082 is a B. Okay. All right. Then we go to crop group 9. In general, any thoughts on crop group 9, please?
The greenhouse cucumber product would like to stay in A.
Then Kat, the Northeast is okay with a B for 11776, Ethylflora Amazon cucurbits.
Okay. Thank you, Marilee.
North Central is okay with a B for 02233 pumpkin fluazafop.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. Any other thoughts on this? Okay, we'll have to come back and revisit this one, definitely. Thank you. Crop group 10-10. You got orange, lemon, and grapefruit for Itboxam.
Yes, for the grapefruit 13283, we can move that to a B.
Okay, it is a B. Thank you.
I would like to keep the other 2 A's.
All right, Michael. Thank you. We'll move on to 12-12. There are 3, in fact, 4 projects there, but 3 are cherry.
Yeah, so one of the questions that came up in our discussion, we need to hear from IR4 leadership on this, is ethoboxam and fluopicolide both have similar use patterns and could be applied or combined in a single study. We wanted to find out if it's possible to entertain, putting them together in one study, and then we would just take that study with the combination. And Jim, if you want to talk more about that, please add to what I've said.
Okay, I think Jerry can answer that.
Oh, yeah. I think, Jim, were you going to say anything about that, or?
Yeah, I think that it's a possibility. I talked to the registrant. It's both the same registrant valent for both products. It's the same use strategy. I talked to, the registration as far as the measurements, the residue measurements are similar and can be done at the same time. I mean, it's not going to be 2x. It's probably going to be 1.5x the work to do both at the same time. The work can be done, but apparently you still have to do 2 field notebooks. You still have to have a QA come out, but it's more efficient to do both with one visit. So you can argue that it's not going to be 2x, but it's going to cost more. That's clear with the additional combining those two into one study.
Jim, I can't argue with you with the logic you're bringing forth because your logic you says right. It's not a 2x. It's a little bit. I'm not certain it's 1.5x, but you know the situation that IR4 is in, and we've made ourselves into we've dug ourselves into a hole is we have a analytical laboratory backlog, and the analytical battery backlog has resulted into some delays of submissions. We've missed some windows. We're scrambling a lot of times. And though what you say sounds really good, it just puts us in a deeper hole because that is 2 studies for the lab to do. Maybe they're lucky they can make one injection and get it separated, but there's still a lot of extra work that goes along into that. We have done this bundling in the past, but typically we've done it is at the last part of the workshop when we're down to the point where people are not willing to move, and we've tried to make it happen. You know, we got a long ways to go to cut. If you want to keep them 2As right now, it may be considered later, but we're not gung-ho. And again, it's going to put our labs in a further hole. And, you know, our field people have a lot more work to do for their, you know, one field trial. So I'm not gung-ho about it, but I'm not going to reject it.
Thank you. We'll go forward and see how it proceeds in the next go around.
North Central can move the plum 129.71 to a B.
Any other thoughts in this crop group?
We'll have a little chat session on this, Venkat, get back with the priorities.
Okay. All right, we move on to the next crop group, 13-07. On caneberries, we got caneberry, we got a 3 strawberries there and a cranberry, a couple of cranberries there. So,
hey, this is Katie from the Southern region, and we'd like to keep the 2,4-D choline in A.
Okay.
But to counterbalance that, Southern region is willing to make 12601, the caneberry phenazequin request a B, please.
Okay.
For greenhouse strawberries, we'd like to keep it in A, please.
Any discussion on cranberries? And I just want to point out that 13168 is under eval. Do we have any comments on that?
And North Central is willing to move that one to a B under eval.
13168.
Very reluctantly, the Northeast agrees with that, but we're going to keep that on the radar.
All right, moving on to 14-12. It's a tree net group, okay.
Yeah, so it's sort of the same discussion. We want to keep the hazelnut as an A, and for just until we've had a separate chat, we'll keep the 2 almonds as A's.
Okay. Right. 15-16 on corn. You get 3 projects again there.
For the rice project, that can move to a B.
And Kat, for the sweet corn, we can take a B.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll move on to the grasses then. Crop group 117.
We would like to keep that as an A, please.
Okay. Then we got a bunch of 28 projects, 3 from sesame and 2 from camelina.
Hey, Venkat, can you go up just a couple for me? Intermediate wheatgrass.
Yes.
North Central can move it to a B as long as we can push for the ChemSac.
Okay, 13161. Okay.
And Venkat, this is Nancy. If I could add one thing to that I should have said during my opening presentation is in terms of crop grouping, we are working on a crop group rule that would propose to expand the legume vegetable 6, the vegetation of the legume vegetable 7, the cereal grains 15, and the fodder, straw, and hay of the cereal grains crop group 16. That should be proposed hopefully by the end of this year and finalized the next year, which would also address that if pinoxidin is registered for use on wheat.
Okay. Thank you. That makes sense. So on in here, moving on to 20, crop group 20A, we got one that is row number 77. That's there is no manufacturer support, so it's an X, perfect. And now we got 2 sesames and 2 camelinas, please.
First one, camelina dicamba, 13144 can move to a B.
Okay.
Venkat, we can move 9589 for sesame to a B in the hopes that we can work on that in the other A.
That would probably make sense, Janine. Thank you, because that's identified as a discount project, and also manufacturer is only supporting the domestic use on that one. So perfect. Okay. All right, we go to crop group 22A.
Venkat, this is Terry for the Northeast. We like to keep asparagus with an A for pyroxasulfone.
Okay, good. Thanks, Terry. 23A, olive.
I would like to keep that an A. We've heard over and over again from growers in the California Olive Committee their support for this.
Okay. So then there is 24, crop group 24. We have a lychee, 3 avocados, mango, pineapple, and a dragon fruit. Any comments or thoughts on that, please?
The ethoboxam and fluopicolide avocado, we'd like to keep as an A. It's going to be the same discussion we had. We'll get that worked out.
Yes. So yeah, concerning that, actually, so Florida's priority actually is the trifloxystrobin flupiram.
Okay.
Yeah, at least for Florida, the trifloxy is the only one that's an A for that, for the avocado I'm talking about.
All right, we definitely have to come and revisit this.
Yeah.
Because all the three avocados can, it's very hard for us to defend an A on those. I can say that.
You mean for all three?
All three, yeah. It will be challenging.
The other would be an A for the lychee, the zeta-cypermethrin.
Yeah.
That as an A.
Okay.
And the dragon fruit, an A.
Dragon fruit name. Let's go back and talk a little bit. I know Michael and Jonathan, you want to keep an A on this, and you want to see how this plays out with Jerry's argument. Perhaps, I mean, as we go along, maybe we want to tighten this up rather than play it through the end. What are your thoughts on avocado here?
Yeah, so for Florida, there is now, well, there's a limit on the main fungicide that's used in crop production, copper. So they're limited about how much they can use. So they've been moving away from using that. So to do that, they need to have an array of fungicides that they can rotate. And so that's the reason for the trifloxyfluopyram for Florida, is that we need to build an alternative arsenal so there's not this resistance happening, and so that they have something to use with the, you know, with this limitation on the copper.
Okay.
I'm not sure about California, whether they need both those products equally or not. They'll have to speak to that.
So this is Jim out of Scavenge. I know that we have mefenoxam resistance. I know that we are developing phosphite resistance. Phytophthora is a major problem for both Florida and California. Arandis had gone through the IR4 and it's pending registration this fall. And you know, we just want to develop resistance management programs at the start with introductions of new fungicides for Phytophthora. So ethoboxam and fluopicolide represent different modes of action along with Arandis. And so the goal is to have an integrated program right from the start with Arandis, and then shortly thereafter in the next few years getting ethoboxam and fluopicolide. That's the rationale for the urgency, because once you start detecting resistance to phosphites, and mefenoxam has been known for years, then you know the industry is going to be in dire straits of having new materials. And so we're trying to not lose Arandis. We're trying to, even before we even get started, but with overuse of it, without rotating to products that don't have resistance, like ethoboxam and fluopicolide. So there is some urgency to these requests.
I'd like to, this is Jenna Beckerman in North Central, and I'd like to add this support to what Jim is saying. Unlike these other crops, these are perennial crops. They're not going anywhere. We can't rotate out of them. And so our options are limited as far as cultural management. We need more fungicides to protect the plants from Phytophthora in the first place.
Yeah, no, I agree. I totally understand. Again, we're in the same boat with the issue with anthracnose, fungal diseases on the fruit.
I guess the other question to bring up is the trifloxyfluopyram. You have the mango and the avocado. I think we discussed at some point trying to get a crop group for that. So maybe put off the mango for now, or I'm just wondering about, we had that large discussion with Janine and I.
Yeah, so you're saying go ahead and do the mango part of it.
But the rep crop would be avocado, not mango. But then you would have to do the pomegranate at the same rate as what you're gonna do it for the avocado. I mean, I don't know, this is probably making it worse, but it would get rid of 1A priority for now if
Right. Yeah, so yeah, and I'm not sure who would do the pomegranate, but that's why, yeah, and so that, I'm glad you brought that up because, yeah, we did have the mango as well and had a question about, crop grouping with the avocado as well. So I don't know, does, for the phytophthora, do you need to work on both products the same year, or you can stagger it 1 year one and 1 year the next, the other one?
Well, the question was whether we could just do them as a mixture. So we were waiting to see how this shaped up. But obviously, if we have to, we would rank the ethoboxam as a top priority for this year and then revisit this next year with fluopicolite. If we can combine them, though, that would be, one strategy. But obviously, Jerry's pointing out that the cost, and there is a cost. So we recognize that.
And Jim, right now, this has been proposed for 3 crops already. And, I'm going to just say rough estimate, we're probably talking about over 20 field trials. So, not even if we did 1, that's a hell of a lot of extra work, but now you've gone to 3. So, this, you got to understand, we don't have a open spigot of funds, and this is going to be very, very challenging just to do what we're proposing to do. So you can't do it all. Something's got to give.
Well, for now, we can make the avocado fluopicolite a B, and then we'll work with ethoboxam. We'll see how it comes out with all the other crops.
Thank you, Jim. And double checking again on the Zeta, that continues to be an A. Is that what we heard?
Yes.
Okay, thank
And
you.
that's been a problem for about 15 years. And we need to get those weevils under control.
Yeah.
In the past, Jerry, just quickly, in the past, Jerry, we did a crop, the tropical grouping for Arondis, and we did pomegranate, avocado, and I can't remember the other crop, but we got the whole crop group. Maybe Catherine remembers that, but the idea is that we're going to have to go through this to stay ahead of resistance to Phytophthora. And we need these products. So maybe IR4 could think about how is the best way to move forward, because a lot of these crops get Phytophthora. So anyway.
Good points, Jim. No doubt about it. And I think we understand.
And Jim, maybe the avocado is more of a priority than, say, cherry for this year.
Yeah.
Those are some of the tough decisions that you're going to have to make, because again, we don't have it all.
Right.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So based on Catherine's comments previously about the avocado and mango trifloxy, so go ahead and make the mango a B, I guess.
I can't feel comfortable with that. Unfortunately, the trifloxy for flupyrium requests, at least from Southern region, came in for mango. The idea was maybe we could get the avocado and pomegranate to cover it, but as Catherine said, there's a lot of moving parts, and I've reached out to pomegranate researchers here in the Southern region, and I've followed up with Western region. I'm concerned we're not going to get a request for pomegranate for a while, so I would like to keep the mango for now, please. Thank you.
Okay. Any other thoughts on pineapple or dragon fruit?
The pineapple we'd like to keep as an A.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Dragon
I have
fruit.
nothing registered for dragon fruit, so I'd like to keep that in A2, please.
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
Leave it. Move on. Yep. Go to 25. All right. Crop group 25A and B. And I'm seeing a few fenhexanamides here, but let's start from the top. Start with basil. Any thoughts on basil? Anyone want to comment?
We'd like to keep that an A.
Northeast also.
Okay, that's good. Then what about mint? Definitely, we got 4 mints here.
Northeast would like to keep the fenhexamide mint.
The U.S. mint industry would like to keep tiafenacil as our #1 priority.
And that's for field use, okay?
You know, this is Doug Walsh from the Northwest. You know, these are really 2 crops, very different from one another. All of the mint we produce here in the Northwest, well, not all, but 99% is going into mint oil and grown in the field. And so I don't know, you can address this as well, Steve, but this has been sort of an ongoing issue for the mint industry when we're sort of lumped in with the greenhouse industry.
Good point, Doug. And yeah, they are 2 different crops for sure. The field mint is predominantly all for oil. There is a small percentage that's field mint that's grown for leaf, but we are completely different from greenhouse. I mean, I realize we're same crop group, but it's like Doug said, they're different uses, different end uses, different crop.
Right, so let's look at row number 107 and 108. We have, of course, a strong interest from Mint Council on tiafenacil. What about the other one?
Yeah, the first one there, the difen and the azoxy, Catherine can probably address that better than I can, but I thought I understood there might be a chance that we could get that through, but I'll be straight up with you. If that's, I'm following headquarters lead on that. As far as the mint industry, it'd be nice, but it's definitely #2 priority for us. So if we let one go, it'd certainly be that one. But the tiafenacil is our #1 priority. We got to have an A on that.
And you know, just to also chime in here with the Mint Industry Research Council has multiple years of data with that product from both the Pacific Northwest and the Midwest. I mean, we've got a solid efficacy packet with the tiafenacil.
Mary, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to offer that we had discussed in our breakout session that if we went with the mint greenhouse transplant fenhexamide, then that would be the rep crop, and then we could move the other herb greenhouse transplants to a B.
Okay. So we'll come to that in just a second. Let's wrap up the thought on Catherine was going to comment on 107, row number 107. Catherine, go ahead on the combo product.
For the difen azoxy on mint, I'm not sure if Syngenta is still on, but as I understood it, we needed to conduct extra trials. It wasn't like the quinoa project where we could just use their residue data. So we would have to generate additional data. I don't think they had the Triazole analysis.
Yes, that's the point. Is the Triazole metabolites. It's a old difen mint study done back in the day, and it's not fit for prime time anymore.
Thanks, Tommy.
Sure thing.
So am I hearing that there is a lot of support from the Mint Council on the tiafenacil? That's your #1 priority, you're saying? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
So would you be willing to consider a B for row number 107 then?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we were hearing comments about fenhexamide, and so let's go on with that one.
So that would be row 111, 112, and 113. What Mary was mentioning, that it would go to they would go to Bs because the mint would support the crop group.
Okay. Any objections, any comments on that? So we are keeping Azoxy mint greenhouse transplant as, again, an A, or I know I heard comments from Jerry about the resources that were spent on Azoxy. And last year we had quite a few Azoxy that were pigged. So the question is, do we want to keep this an A?
North Central wants to keep that in A since we dropped out of fenhexamide. We're dropping a bunch of other Azoxys, but we'd like to keep this one.
Okay. Sounds good.
I would consider this one similar to that other these other Azoxy greenhouse transplant ones, if we have to go back to this one again. Just as a consideration that it might, we still need the residue data from the other ones to see, and the whole ChemSac proposal that would apply to this mint one also.
Points noted, Catherine, thank you. All right.
I guess.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering, maybe a question to Mary and Tony. Why is the mint different than the other ones that dropped to the B?
I don't think it is, Jerry. But Tony may have heard from other folks in the region.
Oh.
But I'm fine with the B.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to crop group 26, miracle fruit.
Yeah, that is an A. There's absolutely nothing registered to control the fungal issues on miracle fruit.
All right, any other comments? Catherine?
I was trying to figure out if we could do a ChemSac proposal for this one. I'm not totally sure. I think the PHI would have to be 14 days if we did a ChemSac based on dill seed, but I don't know if you can do a 14-day PHI with miracle fruit.
Yeah, that's going to be too long.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, from flowering to harvest is really pretty short.
Okay. All right, for now we leave it as an A. We move on to coffee. I know it's really important for Hawaii and Puerto Rico. We have done some projects, integrated solutions last year, especially there's one project that is the 13259. The data on the IS look very good on that. and it makes a lot of sense to continue to support because resources have already been spent on IS. Catherine, any thoughts on that one on row number 117?
Yeah, I mean, this one's approved right for a residue study, I guess. I don't know
Yeah,
if we
this is
do it.
Jonathan Crane with the University of Florida. Is Benvenido there? Bienvenido? Suarez?
Someone mute Jonathan,
Okay, I mean, he's worked for Limeco for a very long time.
please.
Okay, I don't know if Corteva's on the line, but I'm not sure if we could do a ChemSac for both of these. It looks like you said ciproconazole only has an existing Codex MRL. I mean, in that case, we'd still have to do a residue study for the other part of it.
Catherine, this is Julie. We also have domestic cyproconazole data from the Quatis Extra. And, you know, the use patterns are a little bit different, but on this one, the Corteva product, the total rate's less and the PHI is longer. So I don't know if that's a possibility, but it's definitely something we could look at.
Yeah, I looked at the notes and it looks like for the pixoxystrobin part, there's no import or domestic tolerances. So I would think that we'd have to do residue still. I don't think we could pass it off with a ChemSac because well, I think Corteva said it was
Yeah.
registered in Latin America.
Catherine, yeah, so that's registered in Latin America and it's currently used for coffee rust with great success in Latin America. So if you're looking at maybe bridging Latin American tolerances, residue tolerances for the US, it's worth a shot.
Yeah.
Are the rates the same?
That I don't know.
I don't think there's an import tolerance for picoxystrobin in coffee.
Right, we do not have any US tolerances in coffee, import or otherwise.
So is the residue data, is that for both products?
For the US, it would be for both products.
That you have the Latin America data for? Or is it just the one or the other?
They're both registered in Latin America, so the assumption is,
For
yeah, they would-
coffee?
right, yeah, they're both registered there, my understanding, so there would be data there.
Michael Braverman, did you have a comment to add?
So Mike Braverman from Minor Use Foundation had reached out to us too about a minor use foundation potential to submit for Codex MRL.
Yeah, so my question was whether you have at least 8 trials to be able to meet GMPR requirements.
Whether or not we have 8 trials?
Eight.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what the extent of the database is in Latin America.
So what I was saying yesterday was if somehow you know, the decision is to move forward on this project, coffee rust is a very high priority internationally. So the Minor Use Foundation would consider having additional trials if there was not a sufficient number for JMPR.
How many trials would be necessary for the US then for coffee? 3 or 5?
I don't know US. I know Codex is 8.
What's the requirement?
Coffee for the US is 5.
5, okay.
And we've done successful proposals before, so it wouldn't hurt trying this one.
Well, and or at least a reduced data set. But it would have to be a priority for you to do that, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is there's a potential opportunity to consider bridging from Latin America, although we don't know the extent of data that's available on both these AIs, correct?
So plan for worst case scenario and hope for best case scenario. Plan on 5 trials each, but hope for some kind of bridging and or minor use foundation assistance or other.
So that's the thing. If minor use is supporting it, again, it has to be put, a question has to be put for minor use, but Mike would not know the answer for that. Mike is part of IR4.
Right.
Yeah, so I discussed this with Dirk Drost, who manages the Minor Use Foundation. We have not come to a decision, but I'm saying we are considering. So I can't come out and say that I can promise that we would do it, but we would take it under consideration.
Again, plan for the worst and hope for the best.
This is Catherine. I reviewed my last ChemSAC proposal, and it says ChemSAC concluded that for future requests, the use of existing international residue data is sufficient to support setting general tolerances on commodities having similar use patterns. So if the use pattern and the rate are essentially the same as Latin America as the US, I think it would be okay. But I don't know what the rate or the use pattern is.
Dirk, did you have a comment to add?
I don't want to, this is Dirk Drost. I don't want to belabor this, but the Minor Use Foundation would supplement funding to support this priority so that US stakeholders could have it. But we'd also want to be able to submit the data to JMPR for a Codex MRL. And we need the cooperation of the manufacturer to do that and the support of the manufacturer. But if it helps, we can supplement the funding for this project. I think the details, I just have to work the details out with Jerry. What does supplementing mean? Does it mean half the cost or 2/3 of the cost or 1/3 of the cost? But it's just enough for now to hear my voice and hear me say we would support it if it gets an A priority.
Thank you, Dirk. Okay, you heard it. So we can keep it as an A and move on. Is that okay? Any questions, any concerns? All right.
So Venkat, this is Nancy. I think based on what Catherine said, that 13179
yes
should be able to be covered by a ChemSAC proposal. Catherine, is that consistent with what you said?
It's the 13259. Well, I guess I don't know if the benzodifen has that also.
This is Tom Wheeler with Syngenta. I'll take a look at that and try to get back to you here momentarily.
Okay.
Catherine.
Thanks, Tommy.
And will EPA accept Latin American data if the gap is the same?
That's what my ChemSAC says. But it has to be that, the same rate and use pattern as Latin America.
Yeah, that part, there are too many unknowns at this point. Obviously, Brian said he can't comment on that. So we'll leave it as an A for that, and we'll leave it as an A for the other product as well. So both of them, and Tommy will get back to us with some information later. Okay, thank you. We'll move on. Okay. All right. If there are no other questions, it was good discussion, I thought, and we appreciate the support that Minor Use Foundation is giving us. Thank you. Field pennycress. We have 4 of them here showing up. Any comments? Any discussion on that, please?
And North Central can drop the first 2, the dicamba and the Formosaphon, but I didn't realize that the 132.72 was under evaluation as well.
You want that? Sorry, Jimmy. Yeah, go ahead. On those top 2, you want to make column B as, yeah.
Yep, those first 2 make a B.
Thank you.
And then the second 2, the 132.72, is that EPA caution?
It's under evaluation, actually.
Oh, okay.
So unless we have a clear path, obviously it's hard for us. BSF said yesterday, Craig was there. Maybe he can comment again. He said he wanted to keep it as an under evaluation for now.
Yeah, and Venkat, this is Craig, and I think Michaela and I had a further conversation here on email even this early afternoon. The problem with Imizethapyr is because it's ALS resistant pennycress, and it would be an HT system then. That really changed the regulatory path because unless Nancy can correct me, if it's an HT crop, it would automatically trigger a full endangered species assessment then for this use. And so, I mean, I think that's a tall order for a minor use via the IR4 process from a regulatory perspective.
Right.
Yeah, I have no expertise on that. So Craig, I defer to your knowledge.
Yeah. Based on what it would be an HT crop. I mean, that's part of, and Michaela, and I think Tony, you were copied on the email.
Yeah.
It's, you know, either keep it under evaluation or I'll pull the plug on it right now.
Okay, let's drive it to a B.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest. Maybe we'll get a better handle on it maybe by next year. Okay, thank you. All right. What about hemp?
So Venkat, I can just share with the group that I did look into abamectin on hemp. There are no showstoppers, some potential pollinator concerns and cumulative, but it seems like we could work through those. So didn't really nail down a green or a yellow, but it's definitely something that we don't see any major issues with. I also mentioned that that is used on cotton now. So if the use pattern is similar between hemp and cotton, there's the potential of maybe being able to do some data translation to support a hemp use. And I'll just throw that out there in case anybody has more information about that.
Would you require hemp data?
It would depend. I think that's something we would need to look at to see if we could do a total, translation without any new data or just a subset of data.
Okay. This is Mike Bledsoe. Like I said, I just facilitate this team. This is is the #1 priority of the group that met to do this. And so we need some help here in terms of if it can be done otherwise. Nobody wants to waste an A, but at the same time, this is the team's #1 priority.
This is Nancy. I would say if it's your highest priority, keep it an A, and then maybe we can have this discussion over the next couple of weeks and see if we can do it in another way, which then frees something up before everything's finalized.
Hey, Mike, this is John Wise. Do you know why abamectin is the highest priority miticide over the 3 or 4 that are listed for hemp? Or
It's a case of an industry. It doesn't have a whole lot of insecticides or any insecticides that are conventional. And this one is fairly broad spectrum, picking up thrips, psyllids, Laromyza, leaf miners, and some beetles and leafhoppers. So I think it had more to do with the fact that it was more broad spectrum than some of the others.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, it is broader spectrum than most singular miticides. There's no question about that.
And this is a group struggling to get any tools at this point. So,
yep, I get it. And the only reason I asked the question is I know that abamectin in many of the crops that I've looked at it, in order to get the top performance of the product, the timing is somewhat restrictive. It needs to be applied and move into the plant material before there's hardening of tissue. And so it's not a product that, in some cases, it's not a product that's used in the 11th hour when suddenly you have a mite outbreak before harvest. There's other products that are more emergency cleanup tools. But if they're really looking for kind of planned, season-long, long residual, broad spectrum, you are correct that material has those attributes.
And I'm just basically regurgitating the conversations that I was sitting in on. I'm not the researcher here. There may be some folks on here that could comment on this. If not, it's like I said, I was just going to open up my hemp list of what was available, expanded. Hold on a second here. See what other. Okay, let's see, let's look for miticides. The only other miticide that might be a possible would have been etoxazole from Valent and Amvac, but it was listed as a potential, John, requiring data before they get on board. And then there was azoquinel, which is strictly two-spotted spider mite, canamite, which was listed as pretty much just a two-spotted spider mite material. So now there's a lot of good materials out there, but these are the ones currently supported by registrants.
Yep, and you're correct that abamectin is one of the few that will cover aerified mites, rust mites, as well as two-spotted. Pyridibin is another one that has a little broader spectrum than some of the singular ones you mentioned. But okay, I just wanted to make sure it was the right choice.
Thank you, John. Thanks, Mike. All right, so we keep A for these 3. Is that the plan for now?
I know that was the group's plan, because like you guys all know, we may have to do something eventually, but this is an orphan group that's just opened up, and there's just almost nothing. Well, there is nothing registered except for biologicals, and 1 potassium salt is considered a conventional.
Right, and if at some point, Mike, if the question crops up whether you have LEP or those type of problems more in hemp versus mites, that question you may have to tease out between these 2 products, abamectin and cyantraniliprole. Just wanted to kind of throw it out there.
Well, I agree, and it really depends on where you are in the country. But the group as a whole did set mites as the #1 priority over all 3 of the projects. And then well, go ahead. Somebody wants to comment?
This is Jana Beckerman, and I have been dissenting on this. There are soft products for control of mites, and biocontrols that have some efficacy. We have nothing for Pythium, which has caused anywhere from 20 to 100% loss, whether we're talking about industrial hemp for fiber or for seed or for nursery production or also in greenhouse production. And we have no synthetic products. So this would be a great opportunity. But as far as concurring with Mike, we don't have any products, and this is an industry that is literally dying on this hill right now.
And to support what Janet's saying, between the project she's referring to, the
Thiazofamid.
Thank you, and the ivermectin, I think the industry would be from the conversation we had, those are the two that they would, basically drop on their sword if they had to try to hang on to. The third one there is very important to the industry, but it could go by the wayside if necessary.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I know there was quite a bit of discussion even last year about Pythium and wanting to have a product for Pythium. Pythium seems to be a problem, especially in the Midwest and some of the southern areas.
Jana, unless you disagree with me, and this is a year where we will not be getting 3 A's on hemp. I would suggest that unless you have a conflict with this, and by the way, I'm one of the ones that champions the can we pronounce it as cyantroprol, but the fact is we probably should consider it as a B at this point. I hate to give up any of them because this is an orphan industry, but I don't, I know what's coming here. We're at 50 and we got to get to 38, and it won't happen unless everybody digs deep.
I agree, Mike, because it's easier to defend thiazofamid and one of the products like abamectin or cyantroprol, and that's why I raised the question. Someone is going to say there are 2 insecticides. If you have to give up one, which one would that be?
Well, the group really did come together really well as a bunch of researchers from around the entire U.S. And the number one priority was the two that we mentioned. Number 2 was the cyantroprol. And so while it's very important, I hate to be the one to say, I'm not the one that should be saying this. Jana, or is anybody else on from the hemp group?
I'm not an entomologist, so.
I am. And like I said, this was the one I'm going to put I'm suggesting a B for, is one of the ones I would have supported. But I do think that based on what I heard, the LEP material should be the B.
This is Marguerite from the group. I agree that it should be a B based on our discussion.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is David Owens. I was in on the very last of that group's discussion. And yeah, it's a very tough way to prioritize. The mites are going to be much more problematic in the western areas, and also russet mite would have no options for. Whereas in the southeast and east, corn earworm is going to be a much more consistent pest of it, which would favor cyantroprol. So it's kind of picking and choosing what region an orphan crop and an orphan market even get priority for.
You're absolutely right. In fact, in the southeast, I didn't see out of every 10 field crops that field plants, there was at least 5 of them that had LEPs on it. I just, knowing that it's a tough year and what the group was saying, I can guarantee this will be the A priority next year if we don't do it this year.
That would definitely is a very likely possibility, Mike. Absolutely. I agree with your assessment.
David, speak up though. You're definitely part of this team. Last comments?
I will defer to the rest of the team and respect the conversation that we had last week over my personal preference.
You and I both on that, but yes, that'll stand then. Unless somebody else comes in.
No, I think that makes sense. We'll move on. We'll move on to hops now. Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
All
I
right.
have-
Yeah,
wait,
go ahead.
Back to coffee real quick. Tom Willard just responded that there's no difen data. There's a benzo. Let me try to find it, sorry. Yeah, there's a Codex MRL for benzo, but not for the difen. So we would need residue data for that. You can't do a ChemSac with that one.
Just to clarify that, because I've continued to look, and we can follow up on this later, but I am finding difenconazole residue data out of Brazil. So we can follow up on this one, but Catherine, you are correct. What I said is there are Codex tolerances for ciproconazole and benzovindofluper, but not difen.
Okay. And difen data, you are saying, Tommy, is out of, it's existing, it's out of Brazil?
It's out of Brazil. It may not be enough. So that's kind of where I am. I'm right in the middle of digging. But we can follow up on this to make sure we don't burn a priority. If
Gotcha.
we can use it in the US and then also support Codex.
Yep. All right, here we go. Thank you, Tommy, for getting back to us on that. Appreciate it. We have hops. We have an insecticide, spiroxamat, and it's pending at EPA. Nancy, any comments on that from your end?
Yeah, so again, pending just means it's not registered yet. So that's a neutral response. There's no color assigned. I don't know if that's because I don't even know if it's been submitted yet.
Venkat, this is Doug Walsh. You know, I contacted the folks at Bayer yesterday when I saw that EPA penned on the spreadsheet. And what they reported back to me was that they had their entire packet ready to go for their tier 1 crops. And to put this in perspective, IR4 has already initiated residue trials with this material in greenhouse vegetables. So the program's sort of 2 feet in. And, you know, sort of the deal with this particular insecticide is that Bayer is moving forward with it in the European Union at the same time. And that's extremely important to us here in the US. And what the industry is facing is basically a outright ban on the neonicotinols, basically due to the European Union shutting down all the uses on that. And so basically this is a replacement largely for neonics with potential for the European Union. And so that's sort of where we are at as an industry.
That makes sense, Doug, your argument, because it becomes more challenging as we deal with Europe, especially on the insecticide part of it, which brings to the question on the herbicide product, tiafenosyl. Any comments anyone would like to make?
Well, that's really Marcelo's baby, but from a hop industry standpoint, we're looking at this as being very important. We're having greater challenges now with the use of gramoxone. And, you know, it's sort of one of those things where, again, it's, you know, a use pattern that is important to the industry. So, you know, all I can say about the hop industry in the past is that, you know, we have been successful at, you know, basically going the regional upgrade. And as an industry, if need be, no one's talked about regional upgrades yet here as we've gone through this first pass. And, you know, as an industry, the hop industry has been pretty good about coming to the regional upgrade with at least some bag of money. So as opposed to some of these other crops that were adding to the IR4 financial workload, I think we in the hop industry could, you know, basically, if we could get 2 A's for the price of 1.5, you know, we'd go that route.
Hey, Doug, I have an additional comment here. So the first thing is
the Hop Commission is funding me to continue the crop safety and efficacy work. So even though it's a requirement by the registrant, we're basically covering that. And there's also a possibility that the registrant will supplement IR4 funds to do some residue work. So we have outside funding coming in for that. So one more reason why we have these A's, they're a bit lighter budget-wise.
Okay. I wanted Dan Gilreen to comment also. I mean, Dan, would you like to share some of your thoughts?
I just put in the chat just a note that there was some talk about spidoxamate as an alternative replacement for neonics, which in hops are used for aphids, I believe, mainly. And we do have some labeled alternatives, Fulfill, Movento, Belief, some pyrethroids like Brigade, and there's a couple of others, you know, Dibrome, an older material, and a few other, I think MP'd. So at least in terms of targeting aphids, we have some materials.
Okay, now the point of it here is that 40% of our hop crop is exported to the European Union, and a number of these, particularly the pyrethroids, are absolutely not permitted. Our hop merchants basically give our growers this list, the do not spray list, or we have conducted research to determine when we can stop spraying particular pesticides and still come in under the European MRL. And so
yeah, are Fulfill, and Movento, and Belief not options then?
You know, Movento is very much an option, but Movento is used really upfront and early in the season. And the spidoxamate would be a little bit more of a rescue type treatment.
Okay. Good discussion. Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts? All right. Before we jump to quinoa, I wanted to again circle back on the hemp part. It was pointed out to me that yes, we have done some good work on the IS portion with abamectin last year. The results look very good and promising, and that's one of the reasons actually. It also, Mike, I agree with that abamectin aspect, because we did invest resources on the IS integrated solutions portion of the work, and it looked very good. So, and any other comments from you on that, Eliche? Any thoughts?
I'm in agreement with you.
Thank you.
And for the lepidopterans, we already had some IS projects where we test a variety of products that turn out being very good on lepidopterans, and which are already commercialized now on hemp.
Thank you.
And just a quick comment about why it may be next year's priority, and that is hemp is being kind of a rotated in crop behind tobacco, and there's a lot of the Torogen or cilantropol rather being used, and the hemp picks it up and it's in the residues. So not only would it be a useful product in the future, but it would also allow for a residue tolerance on the crop, and that's not important for this year, but it probably will be for next.
Thank you, Mike. Finally, we come to quinoa.
We can make that simple and move that to a B.
Thank you.
And Venkat, if we could, I had a chance to have a conversation with Jim Ataskevich, and we'd like to update some priorities up above based on the discussion and feedback we heard from headquarters.
All right.
So if we could go to crop group 10, or excuse me, 12A cherry.
Yep.
Okay. So the A priority would be 1322288.
Okay.
And we would be willing to move the ethoboxam and the fluopicolide to B priorities.
Okay, so 13286 is a B.
That is a B.
And 13281 is a B.
Wait, yes.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Okay, and then if we would go down to crop group 1412, almond. The 1321, let me get this right, sorry. 13217.
Is
We
a
would
B?
take a B.
Mhm.
And then I think we've already captured avocado. Could we go down to crop group 24B? I just want to see where we are. Okay, yeah, that's correct, A and B. Okay, that is correct.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. Any thoughts on it? Okay, we have our first pass completed. Jimmy, you want to give us a quick overview on the A nominations as we see up there?
Currently, we stand at 45, so I would like to say thank you to everybody for working so hard to cut this down from such a high number to being much more close to where we need to be.
Great, thank you. And I know it's not easy giving up some of these projects. It's a challenge. There are a couple of ways we can move forward. We can continue to again go through second pass, or I would suggest, I mean, perhaps if someone would like to take a break, maybe have a quick 10-minute break and come back and go through the H priorities. That way we can come back to this one again later today. What are your thoughts? I mean, Marilee, Michael, Tony, Janine?
I think a break would be great. Is it possible to set up the regional breakout rooms? So if anybody wanted to have any additional discussion, we could do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
So for me, I need a 5-minute bio break, and then I'll go to the Western Region discussion group.
So we will be back. Am I hearing that you'll be back with full discussion into the group in about 15 minutes? Is that right, Michael?
That's what I would propose.
Okay, so breakout room for the RFCs, and we'll come back at, it's 35, so 50. We'll come back at 2:50 Eastern Standard Time for full discussion. Thank you.
I'm right there with you, buddy.
Venkat, are you still there?
Yes, John, go ahead.
Can you put in the chat the two names of that cherry A priority? I want to get input from our tree fruit plant pathologist, George Sundin, but I wasn't able to type quickly enough.
Cherry A priority, yeah. I'll ask, in fact, Jimmy to provide that information to you.
I chatted him, but maybe he stepped away.
I will get a hold of him. He'll forward the spreadsheet to you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
John, it's ethoboxum and flupicolide.
Can you spell the second one?
Oh, John. You're asking me to spell something? Come on.
FLUOPICOLIDE.
I concur.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're good on that, John?
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry, are you there? It's Jim Scavenge.
All right, looks like everyone is back. Welcome back, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Maddie. Appreciate it. All right, let's get this thing going. What we'll do is we'll switch gears a little bit here. We'll go to the performance projects. We did pretty good in the first half this afternoon, coming to around 45 priorities. We still have some more work to do. We'll come back to that. We'll continue with the food use program and performance projects. And after that, we'll come back again to the residue projects and wrap that hopefully today if we can, and then get on to the integrated solutions. That'd be the best way to probably kind of approach this. Jimmy, you could have, you can zoom it further if you would like. That's fine for me. But if you wish to, that's fine as well. So these are the H priorities right now that were identified. And we have 47. We have to get to, I mean, I think this is where probably the most challenge lies, because we need to get down to 8. So that's, so feel free to kind of use the machete here, so to speak. So please think about it long and hard before supporting a project. I mean, we have to work a lot more harder on this one, okay? So with that said, all right, let's start with the.
I just want to make a real quick comment that I just need to be made aware that if it's an H+, the new priority will change, and that will be reflected in row 2, column B, where my cursor currently lies. And that's so if it's going to remain an H, say that, and if really all we're looking for are the H pluses. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Jimmy. And again, once again, it's not going to be easy. This is a very, very tough and difficult process. I want to reiterate that. At no point in time think that your projects are less important than some others, but it's you guys who are going to make the call, and we just have to somehow make this work. There's no other way around it. So with that said, let's start with crop group 1.
Venkat, we'd like to make this an H+, please.
Right, H+, thank you, Janine. Crop group 3-07 in onion for planlet.
Yes, we had a question. Go ahead, Stephen.
Just a quick question here. Since we were already working on this as an H+ from previous years, shouldn't this just kind of be considered like a red H?
This was worked on onions, and you got very good data. So I think at this point it makes sense that this. I mean, you guys are actually looking at a. I mean, you'd like a residue study, isn't it?
Yeah, but we can't start it next year.
Yeah.
So to me, this is like
Exactly.
a continuing H+. So I'm not sure it would count for this coming year.
Yeah, because this is continuing. Let's put this as H++ on this one. We'll
Okay.
take it up separately. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
This is a very unusual project here we have. This is, I believe this is the only one we have something like that in here. But okay. We
Thank
come
you.
to the,
This is really, I had that same impression. So thank you, Venkat.
thank you. Okay, 06288 on Kale.
Yeah, this is part of the integrated solutions 00328, and that's almost finished. So I'm not sure if this needs to get a priority. We've got 2 of our site reports in and 2 of them outstanding still. But I think we're about done with that one to get the registrar good data.
So can we leave it the way it is right now?
Yeah, I was just saying I didn't think it needed to go to a plus.
Thank you.
Did you say Gary would like to have a few words about this one though before we move on?
Go ahead.
Already, I mean,
initially I was supporting an H plus for kale, for pyridate on kale, given some issue we have with pigweed here in the northeast. But based on what Roger said, I say we can go with an H if Roger is confident that we'll have data for this one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thierry. All right, we go to crop group 6. We have, let's go with 12800, ISM 555.
So Venkat, these ISM 555 are projects that are important in the Northeast. I think only Northeast nominations occurred. So I'm wondering if, can we use regional upgrades for projects like this? Or would it be possible to have them combined, like beans and peas? Just throwing some thoughts and questions out there.
Regional upgrades on these, something like, for example, if we end up getting more resource, potentially later this year, we can, we would have more, first of all, we would have more H pluses. That's what we have been saying all along. I understand your dilemma there, but regional upgrades on a H, we don't have that. So Jerry, any comments from your end on this one?
Okay, I stepped out of the room, so I'm sorry I missed even the project you're talking about.
Yeah, so we have ISM 555 projects that were nominated by Northeast for their needs. There are a whole bunch of them, and they were wondering if some of these could be lumped together and have a regional upgrade of some sort. And of course, the first thing I mentioned was about potentially if we get more resources, there'd be more H pluses. But having said that, what kind of how do we tackle with? I mean, this is a excellent molecule. We have seen very good data, but at the same time, given with the number of H pluses that we are going after, what's your suggestion on something like this?
Well, I mean, obviously, you know where we're at right now with the amount we've committed to and the amount that we're facing right now. If the budget comes back more favorably, we can put more money into the product performance testing and answer some more of these. But, you know, right now, our commitment is only to fund 8, which unfortunately is pretty low. Marilee, I mean, as far as things go, you know that what our pretty much our average field trial goes. So, I mean, you can lump them all you want, but still the bottom line dollar number doesn't really change. So unless there's co-funding coming in from the researchers, you know, they may be getting only, you know, a couple $100 per application.
And another option, Marilee, is to perhaps we can check with the registrants or someone to see if how we can make some of this happen. There's an opportunity. So for now, let's go through the process and see how this plays out.
Okay, well, thank you for allowing me those questions. I think if we have David Owens on the line, he can speak to this, and we'll probably keep it an H.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, crop group 8-10. Any thoughts on that, starting from 10-465? Any H pluses someone is thinking about in any of these 4 different projects?
Venkat, for 13069, since that is tolerance exempt, we believe that will go to research complete once the final data from this past year has been submitted. So I think it comes off of the H list.
Right. Okay, that makes
So,
sense.
so maybe in the HQ notes, it should be research complete pending receipt of final field data or something.
And Michael, this is Craig with BSF. How is Brad progressing with those studies? Because we are interested in the efficacy on the target pest.
Brad, I think you're on if you want to speak.
Craig, the crop safety data is good. The efficacy site was poor this year. So I've got a solid safety data set, but not very good efficacy data.
Okay.
Mediocre at this point, we'll say that.
Okay.
Better than the alternatives, but it's still only mediocre.
Okay, yeah, just please send us the crop safety because that's kind of step one and we'll take a look. Thank you.
You. Any other thoughts on crop group 8-10?
Yeah, the pepper greenhouse chlorophenapyr.
Yep.
That can go to an M.
Okay, thank you. All right, we will leave it the way it is. We'll come back. Crop group 9, A and B. We have 3 projects in there. Any H pluses? Someone is seeking for an H plus? Or would like to keep it as H or downgrade them?
I think at 13199, they need to just go down to an M instead of an H. There's a lot of work being done this year under a protocol that was worked out with Syngenta to get that post-use for S-metolachlor over pumpkins. So I think the regional coordinators agree this could go to an M.
Any objections on that?
No, thank you, Roger. And the ISM 555, cantaloupe and cucumber, we can keep them H.
Okay. All right, we go to the pear project here, 12722. You leave it the way it is. Okay. Any thoughts on crop group 12-12? You got 4 projects.
Hey, Venkat, this is Tony. I wanted to go back up to the goji berry 10465. North Central's okay with an M on that. I don't know if anybody objects to that, but we had it as a H and then we bumped it down to an M.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. 12-12.
I would suggest that all of the stone fruits that are here, just prioritize one, because if one gets a priority, I'm probably going to write that performance protocol to include, several different stone fruit crops in the same protocol to try to cover all the different subgroups. So it would help our total number down, but the work would still need to be done. Make one of them an H plus and not worry about the others. And that goes for flazosulfuron or quinchlorite, whichever one we choose. We'll probably do a combined protocol, in my opinion.
Then Roger, would it make sense to make the quinclorac peach the H plus?
Okay. Row number 48. Yep. H plus. And Roger, I'm hearing you're gonna put into other projects in other AI.
We'll probably do a combined protocol there. You might want to put that on the notes out there so I don't forget.
Combined protocol with other. Thanks, Jimmy.
And this is Tony again. The pear pyroxasulfone 127
Mhm. Right, row number 42.
Yeah. We're okay with an M there.
Yep.
And also the flazosulfuron, the 133.23. Yep, I'm okay with an M there.
Okay.
And also the plum, 133.24, you can make that an M.
Okay.
Also the caneberry, 111.28.
128 M. Okay. Any objections to that one?
For the 11128, I will argue that the southern region would like to at least keep that as an H. I think we're okay to leave it there, but I would like to see that kept in H.
Okay. Thank you, Jenny.
But for 133, I forgot how many threes I said, 13332, we would like to make that an H plus, please.
Okay. This is on Caneberry, 240.
Yes.
Okay. Any other thoughts on crop group 13-07?
Hi, this is Karen with the greenhouse strawberries, and we'd really like to keep that as an H plus right now. It's the only way we can get it a label for it at all.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
Thanks.
All right, we grow to crop group 14-12 almond, row number 59. Okay, we get, 64, sorry.
Yeah, we can just keep that as an H.
Okay. What about, now we have 4 projects in our crop group 20A. Any thoughts on that? Just, or leave it like that?
Can we make 11951 an H plus for now, please?
Okay, on sesame, okay.
The 2 camelina can be both an M. 3, yeah, yep.
Okay. Okay, if I'm not hearing anything, then we have crop group 22B, celery. Okay. Then we have crop group 23B, guava, tolfenpyrad pyrite.
Yeah, I'd leave that an H.
Okay. What about lychee on BCS 991?
Yeah, leave it an H. Yeah.
So we have a whole host of 24 crop group 24s here.
Right. I would just, I mean, for us, I have just one H for that avocado, and that's for the flazolam as an H plus.
That's an H plus, okay.
That would be H. You might as well. What does M stand for? I forgot.
Medium.
Okay. Yeah, I would put the propicana. Well, well, let me back up. If you're talking about a foliar propicana, so I guess that's a medium. Janine, I don't know if you want to chime in on this.
That is the drench in the soil.
Okay.
Request.
Okay, so I'd leave it as an H, right? Because we're doing some preliminary work on that right now. And then the only other H that I have was the mango glufosinate. H plus. The only other H plus I have is glufosinate mango. That's it.
I will add one more tropical. I'm sorry, you can go, Jonathan.
Oh no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay. I would really like to add 13222 as an H plus for our banana growers in Puerto Rico. This is top priority.
Thank you, Jenny.
And from the west, for 13263, we'd like that as an H plus, please.
Did we cover all the 24s crop group? Okay, we'll go to crop group 99 then. We got coffee and hemp.
I have one more quick one, Venkat. I think I missed it. It's 11611 strawberry quinclorac. It's up just a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah. North Central's okay with an M there.
Okay, thank you, Tony.
And then for the coffee, 13262, we'd like an H plus for that, please.
Okay. All right. We are complete with the first pass. We were supposed, yeah, go ahead, please.
Looks like we have a cue from Marcelo.
Yep.
We could go back to the strawberry quinclorac. I think there is a lot of support in Oregon for that. It's one above. It's
the one above.
116. Yeah, that's the one. So just before we go to IAM, there's a lot of support, and I think some work that was done here in Oregon by Ed Peachy. I'm not sure if he's on the call, for quinclorac and strawberry. Are we the only ones interested on that?
You want to move that to an H then?
Well, at least before we just drop it, have that discussion. I wish Ed was here.
All right, we will leave it the way it is. Seems like there are no other comments. Any other comments on that particular project, strawberry quinclorac?
This is Bernie Zanstra. We had a lot of injury. I'd like to see more data before we waste a priority on it.
Okay, thanks, Bernie.
That's what we're getting here is performance data of the efficacy and crop safety priorities.
Okay.
I understand that, but probably other people that really want it could do another year's worth of data and then make sure it's safe before we waste the priority on it.
Understood. We will leave it as H for now. Hopefully, if it ever comes back up, Bernie, we'll reconsider that and have a little bit more discussion on quinclorac on strawberry. But right now, as we stand at the first pass, we're supposed to hit 8. We are 2 over. I think we made great progress. I mean, it's from where we started off with. Any other thoughts? I mean, can we bring it down potentially? Is anyone willing to look at the H pluses and yeah?
Yeah, if we could sort it by H pluses, that'd be great. Perfect. Thanks, Jimmy.
So can we look at H plus and make it an H? Any possibility here?
Hey, Venkat, this is Craig with BSF. I'll go the opposite direction. IR4 did an outstanding job on the brofenolide onion. We had seed treatments in furrow and showed very good efficacy. I know there's a lot of interest here because this is the protocol was written in 2019. It got shuttered in 20. The work was done in 21. By that time, we had a registration. But since we had a higher rate than what we think is registrable in those original studies, we want to come back with a lower rate with efficacy. So with all this being said, BSF will fund that project, the H double plus for 2022. Just please let me know. I think I had requested up to 6 trials again, and we'll help out with the funding here for that particular study.
Thank you, Craig. Appreciate it. We will leave it as H++. That'll move forward.
The Northeast thanks you, Craig.
So does the West.
And the West.
You're welcome. You all did great work. We just hopefully the same efficacy with a slightly lower rate.
So maybe Jimmy, you want to capture that under column W, right next to that. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, there you go. Hit escape. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. All right, that leaves it with still 10 now. Any other thoughts?
Venkat, well, here's one thought for me. In a lot of these cases, because we're doing so much in tropical fruit, there's limitations of how many field trials we can do. We may be able to be within budget. Right now we're just a tad over project wise, but I can't see that being 4 field trials on avocado, mango, papaya, and coffee. It's probably going to only be what, 2?
I agree. I think we have to look at definitely the 24 Bs here.
Yeah. Are there going to be crop destruct costs with any of these projects? The tropicals?
There's no cost to removing the fruit for the plots that we use. I mean, we just do it. We just hook them off the tree.
Okay. There's no additional crop destruct. I think we can probably make this work under budget.
Yeah, I can't speak for the Hawaiian papaya or the coffee or the banana in Puerto Rico, but the mango and the avocado, we don't have a problem with removing the fruit.
In Hawaii, we don't have a problem either. There'll be no crop destruct costs for either of these, papaya or coffee.
Same as us.
Maybe a question to Michael and Janine. Do you feel comfortable with that? That we won't be having 4 field trials here. It may only be 2 on these respective crops.
Yeah, this is Michael. I'm good with it.
And you mean in a given year?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we're going to have to meet the requirements of what has been outlined by the registrant that we're working with in these particular studies. But, if you start thinking about it, how much land is there in Dade County, Florida, that we can do, avocado trials or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
No,
yes.
Yeah, I'm not clear on what you mean.
Yeah. So what we're saying is we're gonna probably stretch this out over a little bit more time as opposed to going all in and getting this done in 1 year. Is that what you're saying?
No, well, I guess I'm questioning is, do we have, I mean, can we typically do 4 field trials when we're doing these H pluses? That it varies, but it's typically been about 4. Are we going to have the space to do 4? Do we need to do 4? I mean, if we do it over a couple of years, we're mortgaging the future if our budget stays the same way.
Yeah, I mean, at the research center, I can do at least 2 avocado, for instance, or 2 mangoes. And then if I need additional sites, I go off station with grower cooperators. But yeah, I mean, I don't seem to have a problem with it, but I don't know about the other crops.
Yeah, this is Michael. From the tropical, I think we're okay, but I'm going to bring up a different question. This has come up in discussions amongst the regional field coordinators, and I just don't know the answer. And maybe Karen, you can help us here too. I'm not sure of the disease, but with the strawberry greenhouse trial, do we have cooperators with capacity to do efficacy and crop safety as an organization in the greenhouse for that? I'm not sure in the West we've identified a researcher who could do that.
Yeah, that is challenging because everything would be crop destruct, right? Or
Yeah.
would it? Yeah, and yeah, we don't have any extra space or an R&D facility.
Yeah. Janine, Marilee, Tony, do you have cooperators who can do greenhouse strawberry efficacy work?
No, we went down this road a few years ago with Cranberry, and actually Karen helped us find sources and location, and it ended up costing, I forget, like $30,000, $40,000. So it was just cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
If we could do this in a high tunnel, then yes, I think we could find a cooperator.
Yeah,
It would probably be easier to work with the. I'm guessing this is for thrips. If you're talking about an enclosed greenhouse system, I don't think anyone's going to want you to introduce thrips into that area and test efficacy for that. But
Actually, it was more for aphids.
aphids. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what that's what the chemical company was talking about, was the aphids. There are different species in there than what we have in the other crops that it's already been tested on, so they wanted it on aphids. It's my understanding.
Yeah, the high tunnel would be an interesting answer to have for this kind of work for sure, because we could definitely do that.
I believe high tunnel is acceptable, but no, that would be something to, I believe that's what Nancy was saying the other day, but I don't want to put any words out there.
The DP, it's all up to that DPR, and I'm in contact with them. Hopefully they should return to our question soon. But yes, that's exactly what Nancy said.
I've also heard that in some cases, it might depend on the registrant's perspective. They have to accept the data to move forward into residue.
I wonder why would the product perform differently on aphids, whether the strawberry was in the greenhouse or not? It's just performance.
Right, I don't know. Is it true for crop safety also?
I think the letter from them was concerned about more risk of phytotoxicity, like a plant cringing because of less air movements and things like that.
That's relevant.
Okay. Moving, I have a question on row number 116, and that is we are doing, Michael, we are doing quite a bit of work, Janine, on in the IS for coffee. We did last year, we're gonna continue this. So potentially, could this be included in that? I mean, is that being looked at? That's one of the questions, I mean.
That's an herbicide.
Oh, this is, okay. We are doing work in the fungicide area, okay, pathology.
Yeah.
Got you. So any thoughts, when we are pretty close to 8.
So going back to the greenhouse discussion, are we just going to wait for an answer on that and keep these H pluses?
Yeah, I just reached out to a colleague to ask her if she could follow up with the manufacturer to see if they would accept a high tunnel.
Great, thanks.
Venkat, we're pretty close here. I mean, I don't want to skip back and forth, but maybe we should let
Lock
this
it
simmer for a while and then move on to, we got a couple other things we got to go through and then we can come back. Because we're not that far. It's not going to take us long, but maybe it may give some time for someone to think I really don't need this one, or I'm happy with what I got in the residue area and I can back off of this to help with others.
Gotcha. Fair enough. And all right, great. Let's go back to, thanks, Jerry. Let's go back to our residue studies, and hopefully we had chance to kind of see how we can bring those numbers down. I think this one we are close. We'll come back towards the end.
And I'm sorry, Venkat, did you say we're going to residue studies?
Yes.
What is the plan for integrated solutions? Is that not happening today?
We will go back to that and then see how we are doing that and come back. Worst case scenario, if we can't get to finish off the A residue on the if we can't get to integrated solutions, we'll have to pick that up tomorrow morning.
Well, this is my opinion. I don't think the schedule was very clear. I know a lot of people that took time just to participate in integrated solutions today.
Okay.
I would like to see us talk about that now and then make time for the residue. That's my suggestion. I don't know if anyone else would support it or fight it or what, but that's my suggestion.
That's fine. I mean, that would work as well, Merrily. I thought, or Janine, yeah, we can go to integrated solutions then. But I thought it'd be easier to just wrap up on this. We are 45 on the A's. But okay.
If there's, I don't want to be the one that makes a decision. I just know that there's people that were here just for IS, and it would be a shame not to have them speak today.
Right. Okay. We are at the 3:30 mark. We will go for about 45 minutes or so on the integrated solutions. And the last 45 minutes, we'll come back again to the residue studies. Would that work? Is that acceptable, or would you like to finish residues and come back to integrated solutions? Either way, that works for me. What are your thoughts?
I'd like to finish up residue, because to me, doing H pluses first makes no sense, because some of these residue projects may now want to be moved to the H plus category. It seems to me we need to get this wrapped up before we start talking about the others.
Armando, did you want to add a comment?
I just send, this is for Jonathan and Janine. I just send you an email to your email account. If you can check it, please. That's all.
Okay, Armando, thank you.
Any other comments? I mean, should we start? I don't know what Merrily or Michael or Tony, you guys think about. Any particular preference?
Yeah, I'm with Dan on this. Just starting the residue and wrap that up.
Okay. All right, let's at least go quickly, and hopefully Janine will give a chance for the integrated solutions as well. Maybe we'll take 30 minutes or so on this one and discuss the last hour or last 45 minutes. We'll focus on the integrated solutions. Works for you?
Yes, that's fine with me. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, here we are. We'll start off with crop group 1, and we got still 5 projects. Any thoughts? think that there's certainly an opportunity here for one or so to go down in the priority.
North Central is okay with B on fluazendolzine radish.
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, Venkat, I'll just throw a thought in here. Is we heard before that things are pretty much breaking news on thiophanate methyl, and there are a lot of options out there, potential projects out there. We all know it could be used, but I think that we should be having more of a strategic decision on what can we do and what is off the table because of risk of concerns. I mean, I sort of think in this case, we may be getting ahead of ourselves with starting radish until we go back and look at all the other opportunities that that we've either developed data for that are just idling, the companies develop data that's idling, or we want to take our area and invest in the risk cup. So maybe this is just a little too fast to start the radish this year.
I agree, and we have heard that we'd get much better idea by the end of this year, and hopefully this may be an opportunity for 2022. If we go out on the limb and give this a B, how much of a big problem we have? I'd like to ask Tony, North Central.
I'd like to see Mary's comment.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I understand the concern coming from the West that they didn't have a chance to put their priorities forward. But I don't understand the rationale for not moving ahead with this, because the radish represents a crop group which includes ginseng, and we have had an SNL, a special local needs label, for this use for a number of years. And it's been a non-food use. In the past, when an industry has had to have, a special label, whether it be a Section 18 or a special local needs label, that typically was heard and a priority given. So, I just don't understand why this can't move forward this year, because, we'll have to renew that special local needs label in another year. And, that usually goes for 3 years. So maybe just one more renewal would get us to the finish line. And we would have then a project that would come through IR4 about the same time. Ginseng is also a situation where there was residue work done. It was done about 15 years ago, as my technician reminded me this morning. Now, granted, a lot has changed in 15 years, and maybe those data are as applicable as they were at the time. But I don't understand why this project cannot go forward this year and the discussion begin for the other crops that have been also waiting.
Oh, good points, Mary. I mean, we are only trying to just see if, based on some of the thoughts that were expressed earlier on the risk up and having opened up and it continues to be a moving target at this point. That's what we heard from Nancy. So that was the reasoning behind it. But yeah, for now, let's keep it on A, see what happens and how this shakes out. Okay. Thank you.
And this is Nancy. Can we make that a yellow?
Yeah, not orange. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, Nancy, I'm glad you chimed in. This is Rick Fletcher. And, I've been intimate with thiophanate methyl for, a long time. And of course, the current focus has been on drinking water. The mitigations are in. The risk cup from our angles look good. Mary, you won't want to hear this, but ornamentals are being chopped to save ag in a lot of cases. But I can tell you from my perspective of dealing with thiophanate methyl, I think you're on very good footing.
Thanks, Rick. All right, we will go down the list to gain on the linuron situation here. Any thoughts on this one?
So Venkat, is this, I'm sorry if I'm asking a stupid question here, but to take a regional upgrade, do we need to keep it in A, or can I make that decision?
We will add that separately. This will be a B now, but we'll take that as a regional upgrade separately. Yeah. So if you're willing to give it a B and bring it up for RUP, that is fine.
Is that okay with you, Lynn?
Can I guess I'm so new to this, to understanding the difference between the regional upgrade and the A.
Do you want to explain that, Venkat?
Yeah, so we have 5 upgrade projects that we'll consider. And what happens is after locking in, starting we will open it, the regional upgrade. Anyone in these 4 regions, all the regional field coordinators can come up with their upgrades and say, hey, we would like to push this. This is important for us, and they can put forth their proposals, why that's important. And out of all their proposals, 5 will be picked up for support for residue program. So this can be considered as part of that.
Yeah. Can you just give me a second to maybe go on to the next one, and I just chat with Mary in the chat box?
Okay.
And Kat, this
Yes,
is Janine from Southern Region. We can take a B on 11774 for the Southern Region.
Thank you. Okay, we'll continue to move on. Hopefully Lynn will come back.
We can talk about the lettuce.
Lettuce, yes.
So unfortunately, I kind of got lost when I was trying to get into that breakout room, so I didn't hear the full discussion that kind of happened when we were making that call in the first place. But I'd be willing to drop that to a B if the other person
Hello.
Agrees with that.
Yeah, speaking.
So yeah, thanks, Karen. We appreciate that, because one of the things for powdery mildew, especially for greenhouses, we have the XD659 that we were looking at. Catherine, any comments from your end on that?
Not really. I mean, it's just that the pyrethrinone just controlled by itself is powdery mildew. So I think the XD had some other suppression of some other diseases also.
So, and we have that, isn't it? I mean, we have XD as an option going in. We are already looking at that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a residue study.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so we'll take that as we'll take a B on that one. We'll move on. Just want to check with Lynn. Any thoughts, Lynn, on that?
I sent Marilee a message and I'm waiting for her reply.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I type slowly.
No problem. Thank you. Let's look at crop group 8, or is it? Yeah, 6. And Lynn, we got a B on that one, so we'll go to 8. Diphenazoxy. Any thoughts on this one? Okay, we'll leave it. So yeah, here we have about 4 projects here from crop group 9, and especially 3 from 9B. what do you guys think? I mean, any opportunity to bring one of them down? I know cucumber greenhouse is separate from cucumber field. We got squash in there. Any opportunity to kind of start tweaking them?
I'd like to hold on to the greenhouse cucumber.
Cucumber, okay, good.
Meg, did you have a question or comment?
Well, I was just going to say the reason we have the 3 for in pyrofluxam was to get the whole crop group labeled. But we could decide just to go for squash because that's the most important.
You could also do the other priorities or 1 or 2 of them next year too, so.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, so which one is going to be dropped, the B?
The 13350
Okay,
and 51.
thank you, Meg. Okay. So going down the list, I'd like to look at strawberry, please. Yeah, let's look at strawberry here. Yeah, we got especially 22 and 23. We are supporting strawberry for greenhouse. Karen, how important is strawberry for greenhouse there?
It's pretty cool because it can go by the drench as well as a foliar for powdery mildew, botrytis, and fusarium. So I'd like to hold it.
That one's pretty important.
Okay. What about between the field 22 and 23? I know one is a herbicide.
One is a herbicide and one's a fungicide. I'll let Katie talk about the herbicide. I'll just want to say for the fungicide, we got some nice efficacy and performance data from our researcher in Florida. So.
And this is Katie from the southern region, and we've got quite a bit of data for the 2,4-D in strawberry.
Okay. What about cymoxanil? Any thoughts on that, please?
Yeah, we don't have Natalia Perez here to speak for that. With mefenoxam resistance, this is a real need for phytophthora disease control. Like I said, she submitted the performance data, looks really good. It's supported for residue. I will go back to her and get a response, but I'm sorry, I'm not ready to say we will take a B on that yet. I'm sorry.
Okay, let's.
Sorry about that. Looks like
Go
Kathy
ahead.
had a question.
Yeah, well, it was more of a comment related to phytophthora crown rot and cymoxanil, which is that it seems like some of the varieties that are being released right now seem to have some pretty good susceptibility to that disease. Like Flavor Fest is one that's grown in the Northeast and seems very susceptible to that. So we were interested in that particular product in part with having conversations with Natalia in Florida, where they're seeing similar issues with other varieties.
Okay. Sounds good. Let's quickly drop down to 24. I mean, we got 2 avocados in there. We got lychee. Yeah. I know, especially I'd like to, quickly point out again, we had a comment about potentially that we were willing to take it on row number 35. What are your comments on there, Catherine? Catherine, anything you'd like to add on this one?
For the trifloxy.
Yeah.
I mean, the original need was on mango. I don't know, you know, I would have really liked to have gotten the crop group to be able to support mango and the other crops in there, but the pomegranate's off the table now. I mean, the avocado between the trifloxy and the epibosum are two different diseases with two different issues, you know, leaf spots and anthracnose versus phytophthora. So they are quite different priorities. I just don't know, you know, doing both avocado and mango is the best, but I know they're both important needs, so.
So if we are going after, for example, my question is more about avocado at the boxum. Seems like it's very important. Jim said that. And what about avocado trifloxy?
That's a whole different problem. It's anthracnose, so.
Right.
You know, one's a soil drench and one's a foliar, so they're two specifically different needs in two specifically different regions.
Regions, yeah, west and south.
So.
I get it, but I mean, and I know both are important. And Jonathan mentioned that, but I was wondering if, I mean,
The trifloxyfluopyram is.
So.
You know,
well, maybe what we could do, I don't know, Janine, what you think, but maybe what we would do is say, let's go ahead and do the avocado fluazinum as an H+, and definitely get that, make the trifloxystrobin a B, and then go after it for an A for next year, and maybe do it that way. Although, you know, the use for Florida is just as valid as the use that they want for their product in California. So, you know, it's not a, you know, one use is more important than another. They're equally as important. As I already stated, the problem in Florida is 63 inches of rain during the avocado season, which causes anthracnose, where you can't sell your fruit, and that we have a limitation on copper use, and that we have to have alternatives. But Janine, did you want to say anything?
Jonathan, you said it all. I support your proposal. I think it's good. I think based on what you've told me and Armando, I think the fluazinum, I would like us to see put our efforts towards that and performance. So I support this being a B based on what Jonathan said. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
I'd just like to add real quickly here that the anthracnose can be a problem, but it mainly causes quiescent infections under California conditions, and we have post-harvest registrations.
Yeah, that doesn't cut it. No, the infection happens when the fruit is out in the field, and then when you bring it in, the post-harvest, the dipping is not really a great option post-harvest. It's got to be controlled out in the field.
Well, it's symptomless. It's symptomless at the time of harvest.
No, not well. That's not necessarily true.
That's true for us, though. That's
I know, but you don't have any water. You don't have any rain. We have over 63 inches of rain during the season, and so it is a problem with us.
Yeah, you said it's the same for us, though. I'm just qualifying what you're saying. You said we have the same problem. I'm explaining why we developed the post-harvest fungicides for
yeah.
avocado.
No, I meant the same problem, that we both have products that we need and that are that are both desperately needed for different purposes in each industry. That's what I meant.
Yeah. Well, we took off the fluopicolide, so that's a fair step forward.
I mean, is the mango less important than the avocado, or should we not even mention mango here? Because it's within that group.
We're talking about 12989.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah, okay. And again, I'm just thinking about the crop grouping again. If you could do pomegranate next year, but then that would push it back a long time for getting it for mango.
I get the argument for crop grouping, but I just, if there's no need for it, it seems silly to, when we're looking at all these priorities,
I was just thinking between avocado and mango, one was more important than the other, but they're both important, so.
Right, let's, no, this is good discussion, thanks. And it's always, like I said, the last mile is going to be very hard. I'd like to focus, if we can bring it down to 48, please, row number 48. From what I heard from Dan and others is that there are a few options. I know it's important, this one, Doug mentioned that this is very critical for them, but at least in terms of from Fulfill, Movento, Belief, these are some of the products that are there, excluding pyrethroids. So potentially, the question then becomes, is it something, would you like to take a B on this one? Because
Venkat, this is Michael. Before we get to hops, can we talk about hemp for a minute?
Yes.
I'd appreciate it. I'm sorry to get us off track, but the question I have here about hemp is a resource issue for our entire organization. We've been working on hemp the last, I think, 2 or 3 field seasons. And it's not clear to me that we've actually been able to successfully complete the field work and the lab work for any hemp trial. I think there's a lot ongoing. There's been a lot of challenges, learning a new crop and everything. What my question is to us as an organization is, I understand that hemp is important. It's a new crop that's coming up and we need to be doing work in it. But should we be putting resources for 2 complete studies in hemp when we haven't yet completed successfully any hemp trial? And I put it out there as a proposal that maybe we just do 1 hemp trial. I don't know which one, but that we do just 1 hemp trial this year so that it allows our organization that time to continue adjusting to doing hemp. And I'd appreciate leadership's discussion, and I'll be quiet now. This is really a genuine concern that I have about us as an organization.
Michael, you mentioned not completing a trial. You meant can't complete a study, right? Because
yes, yes, that is correct. Right, completed a complete study.
Yeah, that's a fair question, Michael. And yeah, we've lost few studies there. So yeah.
Looks like we have a cue from Doug, and then also Nicole's raising her hand. Doug, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, Michael's right. My program was assigned several of the hemp trials, and here in the Northwest, or at least my area, it was the hop growers that were trying to grow hemp, and they were going to basically produce CBD, okay? And that obviously that market collapsed. And then we were assigned trials to collect seeds and all the like. And when we tried to go into grower collaborators, our growers here were actually growing hemp for people to smoke it. So, you know, and that's where they were selling their a large amount of the hemp that's actually being produced around here. And I'm not sure whether IR4 is prepared to work on things that people are going to smoke.
Yeah, Doug, actually we are. So we are very well aware that there is a market for hemp that's smoked. It's still the hemp with less than 0.3% THC, but it is smoked, very similar to marijuana. But yeah, it's contradictory if you want to be there, because they don't want male plants around that hemp that's grown for smokable or hemp that's grown for CBD, because of the males are needed for seed production, and that's not good for them.
Yeah, that's exactly the situation that we found ourselves in trying to find field sites.
Nicole, did you want to ask your question or comment?
So my comment is that I am working on an IR4 trial right now. In fact, we're gathering the last of the data at this point, but I work on research stations, and I know a lot of hemp researchers who also work on their own research stations, and we have experience. I've been growing hemp since 2014, so I think it's just a matter of who we're choosing to do those trials, or where, or maybe it's more about logistics, but to not choose a hemp product because trials have been lost in the past as an on-farm situation. I don't support that, because I think maybe we just need to rethink where those are done.
Jana, and then maybe Danny.
Yeah, I have, none of my trials have been supported by IR4, but I've been doing them. I have 4 of them sitting in the folder to go into PDMR. I just didn't get them done in time, and we have a few more that are we're wrapping up right now. So that would be my first comment, is there are trials that are being performed. It's just kind of challenging to get that funding through, get the funding to do this through IR4 to date. The second part, as far as the laboratory work, again, some of us have published on this. And so I don't understand the point. I realize that some people haven't been successful, and I know that we are in different parts of the country and that we are all facing different challenges at different times. But to lump all of us together and, keep denying the opportunity for funding to support the research that is desperately needed by growers, I don't understand that. We have lots of crops here that have multiple products available for management options. And here in cannabis, we have very few. And asking for 2 more opportunities after the hundreds of opportunities that have been provided for other crops doesn't seem like a big ask, in my opinion, but obviously I'm biased.
Danny, did you want to share your comment or question?
I think Philip actually kind of addressed it in his comments, but I was wondering how many outstanding red A's there are in hemp trials that will need to be carried over into next year.
Anticipating 2 red A's, maybe 3.
I mean, there's only 3 out there altogether. It couldn't be more than that. So 2 sounds right.
Two red A's is what I expect.
Do we want to go back to the coffee discussion again, or is that off the table?
Let's talk about coffee. And again, before we start that, the reason we want to go away from hemp into coffee is not because the answer is we heard pros and cons from hemp. I don't know if we can really decide anything on the fly here. So I think we'll just have to leave it the way it is and come back and address it at the PMC and leadership level, I guess, on hemp. Go for it, Catherine.
I was just thinking that if we could do the picoxystrobe and ciproconazole as a chemsac. I'm not sure. Is there any way that we could do something like an upgrade for one of these, or something like that, or?
That would make a lot of sense. What do you think, Michael?
Which Michael are you asking?
You.
Okay, so I followed most of the previous coffee discussion. I'm a little confused. So on both of these coffee projects, do we need to generate residue trials, the GLP residue trials?
I was thinking for the picoxystrobin ciproconazole, we could use the Latin American data to get that use. If the use pattern and rate were preferred by Hawaii, well, and Puerto Rico.
So it would be like a ChemSac argument?
Yeah, it just would have to be the same rate and use pattern as what they have in Latin America, which I can't see why there would be a difference between the US and there.
Okay.
In terms of the rate. I mean, I don't want to mess anything up, but I'm just thinking we have these two projects and one could potentially be covered.
Right.
The other one that, you still need efficacy data in the US, but I mean, there's something there too, where there's foreign data also.
Okay. So Catherine, you were proposing 13259 as the upgrade, and then keeping the benzo. Did I have that right?
Right. Because Tommy mentioned that there's no tolerance for difen. He has Codex MRLs established for coffee on benzo and ciproconazole, but not on difen. Is that right, Tommy?
There's no codex tolerance, but there is data for difenconazole. So it's
data.
I see. Go ahead.
Apologies.
Go ahead.
That data be useful to support?
Again, it's matching. It's the same thing as the other, is comparing the directions for use.
Mm-hmm.
And if Hawaii and Puerto Rico are willing to utilize the same gap that we have in the residue trials, or something less critical than that, then both projects are in exactly the same place.
Right.
Which is ChemSac proposals for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is no difen tolerance established yet, but that doesn't mean that's, somewhere down the road, the Brazilians are going to come to us and say, we need an import tolerance for difenconazole in coffee. If we can get the domestic use and a tolerance established based upon that Brazilian data, which has 8 trials, all the trials, all metabolites, I've looked at it, it looks pretty daggone solid to me. Both of these projects are in exactly the same place, and I don't see the need. If there's, we have the benzovindofluper, there's codex tolerance, difen, we've got more than enough trials. Ciproconazole, we've already got a codex tolerance, and what I heard is the picoxystrobin is in the same exact place as far as data is concerned. It sounded to me like there was no residue data needed at all, as long as we could match everything up.
Right. Well,
is that right, Catherine?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to make sure that the rates and the use patterns are what is, desired for the states too. That's what I'm concerned about, since I don't know what it is right now. But it doesn't appear that they would be residue studies. I mean, I feel more comfortable about the picoxy ciproconazole just because it just seems like it's together. It's one study that could support it. I don't know if that is the benzo and difen. Are they residue studies together, or were they done separately?
They were done separately.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we just have to look at the data. That's the only thing that I'm unsure about right now, but we've done it before and it worked out well.
Yeah. Julie, could you comment between these two, if we kept one and then move the other to an upgrade. Are you comfortable with that?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
it sounds like we just have to figure it out. Yeah.
Okay, so would the picostrobin be the A and then the benzo be the upgrade proposal?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the most important project for us is the picoxystrobin, cyclophorazole.
Okay, so why don't we keep that as the A? So 13259 would be an A, would stay in A, and 13179 would move to a B, and we can do that as a regional upgrade.
Any objections to that? Any thoughts?
Well, I just had a question. This is just about procedure. Does an A indicate that residue trials are going to be done?
No, not necessarily in this case,
Okay.
Tommy, but
Okay.
not necessarily, especially if,
Right.
yeah, based on what we are hearing, at the end of the day, if there's an opportunity, potentially we will explore to look at ChemSac for both. Jerry, you wanted to make a comment?
Yeah, what it does mean, Tommy, is if this falls through, then we'll be prepared to do residue studies if necessary.
Okay. Got you. But then, okay, then let me ask this. Is that then the correct designation, A and B? Or is it reversed? Because it sounded like what Catherine said was what you have listed as A does.
I was thinking the same myself. I mean, if I'm hearing correctly, if Corteva has all the data that's available for a ChemSac proposal, and both these AIs went in as a single set versus Syngenta did separately on these both AIs, perhaps it could be turned around. I understand your Julie. You said picoxy. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Brian.
Brian, sorry I haven't asked for the cue in the chat. But yeah, I'm not sure the data we have. I don't know exactly what the data says yet from Central and South America for the picoxystrobin and cyclophorazole. So yeah, I'm obviously comfortable with this, and it sounds like my colleague would be more comfortable with it flipped the other way. But what I'm understanding is if one is an A, a national A, the other would be a regional upgrade to an A, and we would address both of them.
Exactly.
Nancy, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think with the uncertainty, if Julie thinks the 13259 is their highest priority, then to me this is correct. Like that should be the A, the other one should be a B, and it could turn out that both of them essentially could be Bs depending on how the use rates shake out.
Right. Thanks, Nancy. And knowing this now, Janine or Michael, on the benzodifen combo, which is the upgrade proposal coming from Western region or Southern?
Yeah, we'll figure that out offline, but we'll make sure it's coming in.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So let's take a pause here. We are 4:10. We got just about 45 to 50 minutes to wrap this up for integrated solutions. It's hard work, and we came up to 38 A's, 10 H pluses. Perhaps if there's an opportunity to come back to H, can we quickly talk about H pluses, please? And bring them to 8. We are almost at the finish line. We got about 5 minutes. Can we focus our discussion on H pluses?
Yeah, I'd like some clarification. Jerry, I heard what you were saying with the tropicals here requiring less field trials. Could you clarify, do you think there is enough money, because some of the tropicals would require less field trials, do you think there's enough money to fund the 10 H's, or do we still need to get down to the 8?
Hey, and maybe I'm wrong, and Roger or Catherine, Alicia, jump in, but I don't know if we have the data requirements, but we typically, if you have a crop like that, how many field trials can you perform in one area in 1 year and still get good data? So for example, if the pest doesn't show up and the field trials are a half mile away from each other, it's a good possibility you're not going to get that data. So we're limited in the number of field trials we do here. So I guess the bigger question is, if we want to do more than 2 for some of these tropical crops, will we need to go back out in the field in 2023, or are we happy with just doing a couple field trials? And those who track what are the data requirements may have some better feels for this. Do we just need a little bit of data, or do we want a full-blown replicated field trial at multiple locations? Roger, you probably have the most there. What do you think?
It depends on the registrant. Some of them have set criteria, and some of them go case by case. I know, well, Brian's on the call. I know that he usually says that he needs to have 2 years of data, multiple locations, and exaggerated rates. So it depends, really.
Okay.
Hey, well, that does bring up a question. The last 2 there are Corteva product. Brian, what would absolutely be the minimum what you needed?
I think that would be correct. We would need multiple years for multiple sites at 2x the use site, maximum use site, especially for a post-emergent herbicide.
So how many trials though? I mean, one trial in 2 different years, or?
I think 2 trials, minimum of 2 trials would be optimum.
And these are perennial crops, so they're going to be 2-year.
So you need to get 2 years.
Trials under our rules anyway.
Right.
So with that said, we do all these tropicals. Maybe what Janine said, we do 2 trials on the tropicals this year and then 2 trials next year. And then I think if we did it that way, we'd probably be able to say, okay, we'll stop with these 10, but that just already taps into our commitments for next year.
Jerry?
Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, Jerry, you made a comment too about, trying to find, pest pressure, having sites and hope the pest pressure shows up. So for a post-emergent herbicide, that makes it a lot easier, obviously. Because you'll see the post pressure. You don't have to wait for it to show up, like a disease or an insect product or a pre-emergent product.
Okay. Any last minute thoughts on this one, please?
Venkat, I think everyone did such a good job of getting the residue projects down that we can, especially if the tropicals are going to be 2 years, we can probably just leave it at the 10 and move on.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you all. That was hard slog. We will now go to integrated solutions. All right, thank you. And by the way, these will be posted by the end of the day on our website, please, IR4 website. So without any delay, we are at the 4:15 mark. Want to kind of jump into the integrated solutions here. You're seeing the screen, the spreadsheet. well, these are now grouped, or it's running in this order with the crop group. And the first one,
Venkat, we're not seeing the Excel file.
Yeah, Venkat, can you stop sharing and maybe start again?
okay,
Thanks.
okay. Share. Are you seeing? Is it coming through?
Yep, looks good.
Thank you. All right, it's now under crop group. We'll go through again, starting with IS 00418, organic weed control carrot.
North Central would like to keep that an A.
Okay, so we have 4 projects here under crop group 1. What about parsnip? Seed corn maggot?
That an A, please.
Okay. So just to let you know, we are 30 and we need to get down to 8. And unfortunately, this does not provide any more leeway. We can't go with 9 or 10. So we don't have that flexibility on these projects. So a Colorado potato beetle, organic potato. In fact, we were reminded by Nancy that technically potato is not, of course, a specialty crop, but
Yeah, Venkat, we can take a B for that.
for this one, thank you, Mary. Okay. What about 161?
And Kat, we would like to keep an A for the southern region for this. Lena Casada put together a nice list of products to test there for
Okay.
organic post-harvest fungi control.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Janine. Okay, this one is 4-16B, black rot on brassicas.
Venkat, we would like to keep this an A, please.
Okay. North Central region supported this one. This is root rot on mung bean.
Keep an A.
Okay. So we have 2 on mung beans. I can tell you it's hard to support both of them.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm here, but
Yeah, can one of the Iowa people maybe try to prioritize what discipline you would rather have, disease or weed control?
Hey, Venkat, this is Artie, and this is a tough question. Yeah, but I don't know. We can go with maybe this time fungicide, and maybe next time we can go with the weedicide.
Okay, am I hearing a B on this one? Is that okay?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, but yeah, can do anything.
Well, if you look at this number, there's a lot more heartbreaking coming up. I can say that.
I know.
So, okay, now we have 8-10 on this one here. And actually this combined with even 9, when you look at 8 and 9 crop groups, there are quite a few disease projects that needs to be really thought hard and whether we want to support them.
Hey, Venkat, this is,
Yep.
sorry.
Go ahead, Jenny.
This is Janine from Southern Region. We discussed the Southern Blight Project a little bit in our regional breakout, that IS 00031. Definitely a huge need, especially for our tomato organic growers. We've thrown around some ideas for products. I think we really need to spend some time on putting forward some strong products here. So I'm going to suggest we take a B on this one.
I'm hearing a B on this one.
So Venkat, I could say basically the same thing about IS 0050, phytophthora, fruiting vegetables. Take a B.
B on this one. I know this seems to be important, but let me ask this question out to Catherine. Catherine, have we done anything related to bacterial diseases like canker or spot on IS?
Well, we did the same thing for fruiting vegetables as a conventional and a organic, but this will be testing a few additional products that were mentioned by Sally Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many?
We did onion too, but I think those were specific to onion. They were different diseases.
The question is, I mean, if we just finish, do we wait a couple more years and come back and retest, or do we have enough range of products that needs to be tested?
That was my question. I could, 2 additional products were mentioned, so I'm not sure if anyone else has any additional projects that could be tested other than those 2 that were mentioned.
So Marilee and Tony, I mean, we have done some testing in the past on this one. Is it possible we could wait a year or so again, gather more products and potentially come back and look at this? I'm just kind of throwing out there.
Yeah, well, what do you think? Is Mary Housebeck still on?
Yeah, sure, Tony. I'm taking a look at Sally's comment. And really, the greenhouse transplants is a critical area to look at the bacterial diseases. And so Sally has a comment that if we focused on the greenhouse transplants, it would be less expensive than a field study. And I think that's where we really need to look anyway, since the bacterial diseases, typically we think of them as being seed-borne. So getting the control measures in the greenhouse are pretty important.
Yeah. So for now, we just leave it A and come back and see how it plays out.
Yeah, leave that in A for now.
Okay. All right. What about this one? I mean, do we have really for thrips? I mean, it's such a hard insect. The question is from a organic products perspective. I mean, I know there are a few options, even conventional products. There are not too many options from an how are the products looking at organic products on this one, Alice?
I don't have an immediate answer to that question.
Yeah, neither do I, Venkat. So this project, I'm not sure how we would want to code this, but just for the general group, some background information. The California Department of Food and Ag has provided IR4 some money for specific projects of interest to California farmers. This is a project that we would like to propose to CDFA. We have to discuss it at the workshop here, and then we send the proposal to CDFA for their final checkoff. So What I'd like to do is keep this as an A for potential CDFA funding. So it can come out of the total count. But we want to look at this for CDFA.
Great. So just for our understanding, so what I would do in that case, I will not give it anything at this point. That means we have gotten just for our understanding, but I've captured here, Michael, that it's a CDFA funding project, and I have it as in a different font.
Okay, that is super. And then as we go through the list, there will be others that will be identified in this same category.
Gotcha. I have so far we identified one CDFA. Okay, perfect. Now we'll enter into the crop group 9. So any thoughts on this, Catherine?
Is there anything that we were gonna get rid of, Mary Lee? I know for the we talked a lot about the phytophthora and summer squash, and we were really interested in that still. I think there were a lot of hopes to keep this one. I think the bacterial spot, angular leaf spot, did we make that a B, Mary Lee?
Yeah, Catherine, I think we could take a B for that. We wanted to keep an A for the phytophthora squash, summer squash, and
yeah,
on the white fly is not ours. Okay.
The southern region would like to keep an A for the white fly. We have a lot of issues here with resistance, and all of the big 4 products that we have been using not very effective in controlling white flies.
Okay. Very good, Oscar. Thank you. We'll go to this one. Now, Michael, you want to comment on this one?
I will. So we talked about this in the Western region breakout. This from the Western region is in our highest priority group. It is to look at fruit thinning compounds, which would be for the pome and stone fruits. I believe we combine these on this. The description's not quite there. So we would like to see this continue as an A priority.
Okay.
Yeah, but this isn't necessarily organic. It's PPWS and organic, right?
Yes.
Yes, it's PPWS. Yep. Correct.
Just PPWS.
Okay, we come now to crop group 13.
Venkat, we can take a B for black rot on grape. I know it's very important. There are organic needs, but apparently this is a disease that's controlled relatively easily with conventionals, and I think that's most of the acreage.
Okay. Thank you, Mary Lee. What about mites and strawberries? I know it's very important for southern region.
Yes, it is something that we would like to keep, at least for now. Yeah, we have a lot of issues with mites here as well, too, especially when it comes to resistance problems. So we would like to keep this one, at least for now, as an A.
Right. Okay. What about almond project, Michael?
Yes, for right now in the discussion, we'd like to keep this as an A, and we'll revisit it as we continue the discussion.
Gotcha.
For these two projects, for rice, the organic weed control options, and for wild rice, the weed control options, these are two that would also fall under possible funding from CDFA. So we can take them off. We'll handle these the same way we did the previous one.
Okay, thank you.
And as I look at this, Venkat, the next two, the olive fruit fly, I'm sorry, the next one, the olive fruit fly would be the same under CDFA.
Under CDFA, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
For black fig fly, just so folks are aware, this is a new pest to California fig. There are no control options. This proposal would be evaluating potential control options for fig black fly. We'd like to keep this as an A, please.
Okay. We have two projects under 24, crop group 24, lychee and dragon fruit.
Yeah, I would make both of those a B.
And were we doing some work on the dragon fruit or lychee earlier?
Yeah, the lychee, there's work in progress. So, ideally, we would like funding to do the next phase, but there's no guarantee that it's going to coincide with the funding stream from IR4. So we'll come back next year if we need to, if we need funding, and make that an A priority. But for right now, go ahead and make it a B, and then for the chili thrips, make that a B.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Let's see. What do we have here? All right. 25, crop group 25, basil and stevia.
And Kat, we can take a B for the basil.
Venkat, we discussed in our regional breakout that we'd be willing to revisit this next year for the stevia. We can take a B on that right now.
Thank you. And we have two projects on hemp and one on hops. Let's talk about hemp. The first one is a fungicide pathology project and a weed science project, the other one.
Our extension would like to keep that A for oomycete pathogens 369.
Okay. All right, Tony. Any comments on this? Merely or Janine?
Yeah, I feel like the regional breakouts felt like days ago, but I think that we would like to keep this in the discussion for our region anyway, as an A, and talk about some of the products that we have to look at. There's a couple that were proposed. Certainly, it's a big need. And I think there's a big drive to generate more performance data in this area to bring to the registrants for their consideration of support. That's what I'm hearing. So that's what I have to say.
Okay.
I have a question, and I may have missed this yesterday. What happened to project IS 00412? Did that get combined with something?
412.
Yeah. It was a hemp project. I just.
Was grouped with something else. It was given a B.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then
Sure.
I had another clarification too.
Yeah.
And again, I'm sorry if I missed this. ISO 416, it was the berry, small fruit, spotted wing Drosophila. I didn't see that on the list.
That's another one we combined two together.
Yeah, exactly.
When did that get switched to? Did we just talk about this and I missed it?
We talked about it yesterday, Michael, and we combined this with, let's see.
Yeah, it was all small berries combined with all crops.
Right.
Okay, I'm sorry I missed that.
Spotted, this was combined with this one.
Yeah. And so was it kept as an A or a B?
So that's kept as an A, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah. Sure thing.
Yeah, Michael, I think what happened there was there was a PCR from the Western region that was actually intended to be a Me Too. So we grouped them together.
Yeah, and no problem with the grouping. I must have missed it when we just went through things. Sorry. Oh, there it is. Okay, great.
So now we are down to 10. I think we made good progress on this. So let's quickly run through this.
So I may be able to, if we could go to the fig black fly. I'm just considering the number.
CDFA?
Yes, we can make that CDFA. So that would be the 5th. Okay.
And maybe what about the hops? I think, and this is a true mitigation project. I think it came from Western region, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'm sorry, Venkat, are we at 9 now or at 8 or at 10?
We are at, it's going up. Yeah, it's 9.
Okay, thank you. Marcelo or Doug, would you like to talk to the hops project?
Marcelo here. So this request was put by the Hop Commission, Hop Research Council, actually. And it's mostly because we don't have good alternatives for post-emergent herbicides. So glufosinate was submitted to IR4 a few years ago. We're expecting a label by this fall. But the way we did the work for residue is basically giving us much higher levels than the current standard for glufosinate coming from the European Union. And about 40%, if not more, of the crop produced in the US is exported to the European Union. So we're really looking for ways to either reduce number of applications or reduce rates or both to see if we can meet this new threshold. And there is a little bit of outside funding that we're trying to secure simultaneously here to do the work.
And I know, Marcelo, you're also working with the registrants on this. This is I think this is a good project, absolutely.
Yes, we've been in communication with the registrants. So the proposed protocol was developed together. We have secure locations in Washington and Oregon to conduct the work. There's at least 2 researchers involved. And I think we would need 3 locations. I think Dr. Walsh would be better positioned to answer that question, but I think we need 3 locations which are identified by now.
Okay.
Just Chair, I got a couple questions just to ask you. Number one is, so from the use pattern that was used to get the registration, there's actually real residues in the hops?
Jerry, it's not residues in the hops. It's actually the metabolite that's being picked up in the hops.
But there is, you're finding, because isn't this orchard 4 or is this sucker control?
Yeah, it's basal foliage.
Okay. So, so there's
Jerry, the protocol was run 3 sprays, 25 days apart, and a 10-day PHI. So it was real close to harvest.
Okay, all right. The second one is, are you looking for a modification of the registration, or are you just looking for this data so that way you can make recommendations to the hops producers if they're going to export?
Exactly. We would provide the data to the hop merchants, and the hop merchants would then alter what they refer to as their do not spray lists, probably give the use pattern that would be permitted, and they typically give a cutoff date after which the material can no longer be applied.
Okay. And then the third and last question at this point is, are you looking for IR4 to do some testing to find a replacement product for the glufosinate in that last interval? Or do you think that let's say if you move it out to 30 days, there's enough weed control to take you through harvest?
I don't think we're going to be looking at alternatives right now because we just got the thiophenicil, which would be either a tank mix or an alternative. And going back to the label, we may have to change the label to change the PHI perhaps, and number of applications to because of the new residue levels.
Marcelo, I don't think we would have to do that. We would work directly with the hop merchants to make sure that their contracted growers take the use pattern that results in the residues that would be permitted into the European Union for hops going to the European Union. For folks that are not exporting hops, we should just keep the tolerance as is.
Yeah, Doug, this is Craig with BSF. I totally agree with what you 100%. I know I haven't been in the middle of this, but I've been on the periphery. So I'm right with you with everything you're saying. We don't anticipate changing the label. Of course, we can maybe opt for lower rates and longer application intervals. And even, I don't think we need to change the PHI, but you can advise your growers to, apply longer from harvest to avoid residue. So I'm right with you with everything you're saying.
Thanks for indulging me on those questions.
And Venkat, if we could come back up to the 405, yes, we can move that to potential funding from CDFA.
So there's a question from Arti Singh. Arti, thank you very much. You have a fair question. So you're asking why did folks pick 2 hemp and not 2 mung bean? Is that right?
Exactly right. I'm sorry for posing that question, but yeah, that's on my mind. So I just wanted to know for curiosity's sake.
Well, again, I think that's a fair question. I'm sure more people would ask. Like, for example, there was a potato project that was kicked out. We had the fruiting vegetables project that was kicked out. The problem is, I think, number one, it's again a matter of where the highest need is, and it's not to say that your projects don't have the highest need. For you, absolutely, for Iowa growers and for mung bean growers is tremendously important. But I think for now, I mean, we can continue to argue and see if it makes sense to put mung bean back on and do whatever we want to do. But this is how, and see if hemp people want to give up one of their projects. But so I think we went through this discussion. You saw it's not easy. I mean, but just to let you know, one could always argue saying, why does RT Singh get 2 projects, whereas the hemp people, the same people here may not be working with the same ones. So they are different people. So there is going to be a question to you, why should RT get 2 projects?
Yeah, so that I just posed the question, to be fair, but I agree to you too. Maybe, hey, industrial hemp is gaining more importance and there are more growers, maybe. So I can satisfy myself saying that. But yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I just had a question in my mind and I just wanted to know.
Okay, because I can say with confidence that no researcher here has gotten 2 projects directly to be working on. It's hard.
Okay.
And I think we all need to make some sacrifice. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Sure. Question. Thank you.
Most welcome. Any other thoughts? I mean, this is fantastic that we are almost at the 5 o'clock mark, and we have 8 out of 8 that we wanted for integrated solutions. It went much smoother than I expected. We have 6 CDFA projects, potential ones, that Michael and team will confirm. Thank you. Jerry, before I go any further, I just wanted to kind of give it back to you, and so that you can express some of your thoughts, and we'll wrap this up soon.
Well, thank you, Venkat. And if you all indulge with me in a minute or two, I just really want to give a public acknowledgement of what a great job that Venkat has done, what a great job Jimmy's done, and same thing with Katie. This is the first time they've been asked to do it, and I think they did a pretty good job. So if you all want to just hit your reaction button and maybe a round of applause for them, a little clap. So just great job, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Jerry. Thanks, all. Appreciate that. And thanks, Jimmy.
There's this workshop does take a village. It starts, basically as soon as we're over this year, we're starting on next year's planning. But during the course of the year, there's a lot of efforts. There are company meetings, all the time that the companies spend answering IR Force questions. But there's also a bunch of other things, including, prepping for this one. So also want to recognize the administrative team here at IR4 headquarters, Crystal, Tayshawn, and Jen, and, their contributions. They're behind the scenes. You didn't see their names, but I can guarantee you they did a lot of work to make this successful. Also want to acknowledge all the efforts of our regional field coordinators, Marilee and Megan in the Northeast region, Tony in the North Central, Janine in the South, and Michael and Stephen and Mika in the Western region. So they really do spend a lot of time. There's a lot of Zoom meetings, phone calls, so on and so forth. And last but not least is our biologist at headquarters, as well as, the study directors that contribute. I won't name of the teams or the names there, but they all come in there and they do a whole lot of work and make sure that, the information you look during the course of the meeting is correct. I'd be remiss if I did forget to bring up one and that's our friend at Fountain Works. And this is the second year for Maddie. And Maddie, appreciate all the help you provided and your colleagues there. So, I just can't say enough of how easy you've made this for us. So I'm going to stop now and turn it back to Venkat. But just great job, everyone, all the participants and all the people that put this together. So we all deserve a pat on our back. So thank you again. Back to you, Venkat.
Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate that. And I wanted to also give a quick shout out to folks who have helped us tremendously in this. And they are the registrants, the researchers, the commodity groups, and also the Minor Use Foundation. Thank you all for pitching in and helping us and making this really easier and a lot more smoother for us. So thank you so very much. With that, we've come to the end. We have gotten what we wanted. It was a lot smoother, like I said, and we are going to post these out as soon as possible. And then now more work begins at our end to kind of make sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed in terms of budgeting and resourcing. So with that, if you have any questions, don't forget to reach out to our biologists, Alice Axtell, Roger Batts, Catherine Homa, and also to myself or Jimmy or Susan and Shai. They did a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Again, Crystal and team, thank you so very much. And last, Fountain Works, you did a great job keeping us all on track. I'm echoing Jerry's thoughts again here. Thank you and have a good one. Bye-bye.